Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring more scorn. Ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my lockpicks, punching with my second hand every time the clock ticks.
All right, there you go.
Okay, so if you give me a minute or two, we're going to just check the audio as usual. So just give it a moment. Perfect. Alright, so it's been a while, everybody. But hello, everyone out there on the interwebs, all the key pins and driver pins out there. I'm known as Sidepocket with my retro design shirt here. I'm one of the two co-founders of DEFCON 201, which is a computer hacker group that is based out of, and hardware hacking. We just hack all the things in general. We're based out of Jersey City, New Jersey. We meet the third Friday of every month. In fact, 2 days ago was our meeting. We had this Mac-themed meeting. It was really fun to live stream. Very awesome, useful talks. And if you want to know more about us, you can go to our website here at www.defcon201.org. We're also on Twitter, located at defcon201nj. And if you search DEFCON on like Instagram, and I don't know if we're going to have a TikTok just because of the way the U.S. government's reacting, but on GitHub and Mastodon, on hostducks.social, all of them. If you type in DEFCON 201 or DC 201 in DuckDuckGo, our websites and social media should pop up. If you also go to defcon201.org, all of our social media is also there on the left, or at least most of it. And also, if you like this show that's going to be today, and I'll explain what it is, it's called Master of Unlocking. But if you like this show, or you're going to be excited for some of the upcoming shows, such as Archvile Linux Perspective and my other show, which is called Crypto Barons, you can hit that bell, like, share, subscribe, turn notifications on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. And because we figured it out, if you do subscribe or follow us on there, we get notifications for those, and we like to cheer people on for that. Also, if you know, you're lurking on here, that's good, because that means you're paying attention and you're learning. However, if you have any questions, if you can't hear me, in fact, I'm actually going to raise my microphone a bit because I'm probably sounding too low here. Let's turn that up. There we go. Okay, that's perfect sounding. Sorry to freak you out there. I just wanted to make sure you could all hear me. But if you can't hear me, if I'm too loud, if I'm too soft, if you didn't understand a piece of instruction that I gave, please let me know in chat. If you also have anything to shout out or ask questions about, like my crazy hair or what our group's about and computer hacking and other lockpicking things, please let me know. So, this show, as the spiel goes, is called Master of Unlocking. I am not considered a master of locks, even though I do pick locks, especially by TOOOL, the open organization of lock pickers. I just called this show because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and Jill Valentine's is famous for Master of Unlocking. In fact, for October, I'm going to try to do a bit of something cool with that's Halloween related, hopefully in one of the 2 October episodes. We broadcast every other Sunday, so 2 weeks from now, that Sunday, which will be the first Sunday in October, it just so happens, will be our next episode. I'm still trying to find what we're going to do for that. I'm just checking our numbers here. And what I do here is I teach people what are lock systems, how they work, mechanically how they operate, what are their weaknesses and flaws. And give me 1 second here. I'm streaming. Okay, so I took care of that. Where was I going here? Yeah, what are, different types of lock systems, how they work, their different flaws, and how you can exploit those flaws in order to open them. Now, I really want to get into this episode, so I'm going to go over our rules before we continue on with the lesson, and then I'll explain what the lesson is. I'll pull the camera down, and we're going to learn some stuff. So, first of all, we follow these 2 rules that I'm a TOOOL member, and even though this stream is not endorsed or sponsored by TOOOL, in fact, it's not sponsored by anybody, we do follow Tool's two main rules just because they're genius rules. One is do not pick locks that you rely on. So if you are, after these lessons, if you're like, hey, that side pocket guy taught me a lot about locks here. I actually don't have a normal one for some reason, but I'm just gonna find like the master lock that I have that I use for like my gym or whatever. Even though a lot of people would know this is a certain type that can't really be picked in the traditional sense. But oh, this is even better. Yeah, I'm just gonna take my like gym locker lock, or like it's a heavy one, or like I'm gonna try the lock on my door to my house or my apartment. Don't do that. Hi, Disayamona. Welcome to the chat here. I guess my chat number is not working, and that's why I can't see how many people are in here, which is good because I just want people to learn. So, what was going on here? I'm going to take a hydration squad sip while I try to regain my memories. So, again, do not pick locks that you rely on because you'll inevitably break the lock by picking them. You will probably also break your tools because that eventually happens to everyone, including me. And regardless, even if you don't break the tool or lock, you will wear the lock down. The more you pick a type of lock, the easier that lock is going to be to pick over and over again if you use the same technique. So it'll actually weaken the overall structural strength of the lock. So do not pick locks that you rely on. The second thing here is do not pick locks that you don't own. I mean, this seems obvious, but we live past 2016 in the United States. There's no such thing as common sense. There's just stupidity, so I have to clarify here. If after this lesson you go around and you're like, hey, I saw that exact master lock on his stream, or I saw that combination lock on his stream outside or in a grocery store or something, and you're like, I have my new lock picking set that he recommended, and so I'm gonna go pick it. Don't do that. These rules, by the way, are not to cover my butt, it's to cover your butt too, because you are technically trespassing. You don't own that lock, and that lock's probably protecting something that someone thinks is really valuable. Now, you could possibly have a conversation of letting someone know that that's a crappy lock and explain why if you really care, but don't pick them, okay? Just so again, do not pick locks that you rely on, so you don't pick locks that you constantly use for every day to actually guard your valuables and places and things and stuff and people, and do not pick locks that you don't own. Every single lock that you see on the show and in today's episode is specifically designed as a part of a large training kit that I have that I normally bring to DEFCON 201 meetings and tool meetings that are just there to be picked, and so people can learn how to pick locks. So I don't rely on any of these locks to protect like my gym valuables or like my girlfriend or whatever. Like, they're just there to learn, and that's what we're here for. So normally, and we've been doing this for the past couple episodes, we've been really focusing a lot on pin and tumbler locks, and we also did a special on a type of pin and tumbler lock called the tubular lock. Well, it's back to school, and but you probably won't notice because either everyone's being homeschooled or no one's going to school because it's COVID and the United States can't figure out what to do with itself. And I'm going to do a hydration squad because this is going to be, I don't think this is going to be a long episode, but we'll see just because of the nature of this topic. But normally, when you go back to school, you'd probably get some sort of a lock for your locker, whether you're in you're sending your kids to grade school, if you're in grade school, if you're in middle school, high school, college, going back to the gym, the academy, the Illuminati, whatever, you probably need to get a lock. And one of the most common types of locks that you will find out there, especially in the school environment, are combination locks. Locks where instead of having this is a clear one where you have like a key with different bitting and it moves the pins and you turn it and it opens and that. What most schools and facilities use is a combination lock, which is usually a series of dials, and they have numbers or letters or some sort of human language glyph indication, whether it's alpha, which is either language or numerical, that you have to remember a code for, so there's no key, and you manipulate the different dials and they open. And what we're going to cover on today's episode, as best as we can, is how to decode and open these locks if you don't own the codes. And again, do not, especially if you're in school, do not open, if you see these type of locks, do not open these type of locks that someone else has that they didn't tell you to do, because that is illegal. You're breaking into someone's locker or whatever. And we're also even going to go into some type of combination lock. Actually, a couple of them that are also really common for businesses that I see around in Jersey City. So, without further ado, here's our combination lock episode, and we're going to tilt the camera down. Here we go. So, this is our table today, and as you probably have noticed, normally we have a bunch of tools, and also for the fan of this thing, we also have the close-up cam returning here with its weird sideways view that I'm still correcting. In fact, I have to scooch it over a bit. Let's see. There we go. Okay, that's mostly okay. Actually, can we see the spoiler? No, we can't see the spoiler. Good, because I also have a cool surprise that we're going to do that's probably going to take up most of the stream. Hydration squad, yay. Well, that's good stuff. It's getting a lot colder out there. I don't know where everyone else is in the rest of the world on the stream, but there was literally a day where it was 80 degrees, and then when Saracel and I walked home from the grocery store, a huge wind swept through, and it instantly dropped to 20 degrees, and then later that night when I had to take the trash out, it was 54 degrees, and very recently it's been dropping down to the 40s. Now, the temperature is coming back, and supposedly by Wednesday it's going to be 70 degrees, but right now, our environment doesn't know whether it wants to be full-blown summer or full-blown winter, because, you know, global warming, and we didn't decide to solve it due to tax evasion reasons. So that's what I've been going through right now. I don't know why I went on that tangent, but anyhow, so combination locks. So we don't really have that many tools on here. Well, that's because the thing about combination locks is that at most you're going to need this one specialty tool that I'll go to in a moment, and for a couple of these locks you won't even need tools at all, and it's not precise science. So so if there's screw ups, it's going to happen. It's master of unlocking. There's always some form of screw ups on this show. But two, one of the reasons why I do this show live stream instead of pre-recorded like a lot of other lock pickers, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of a lot of different lock sport people and locksmiths across the place, and you're going to see a video of one of these guys in a moment. My mentor is Night Owl from Tool. There's Deviant Olam, some of these people you may have heard of: Lock Noob, Lockpicking Lawyer, The Helpful Lock Picker, Bonds and I Bill, The Not So Civil Engineer. There's a shout out there. The Dark Arts of Lockpicking, all those different people out there. But the reason why I do this as a live stream show is because I want to actively show you people out there, all of you keypids and driver pids, when I screw up as it's actually happening, because this is the type of stuff that you normally don't see in all of the smexy videos of people picking locks and decoding safes and stuff like that. Is the amount of time and screw ups and annoyances that go on with everything. And at one point I'm going to take a tissue break, but I'll get through this. So as we started off before, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this, what you're probably used to is, which I've been showing off on this show, are padlocks and door locks. Padlocks are portable locks that you can do like individual containers and portable equipment. Door locks obviously are usually bolted to a door or some sort of wall, but most of them are pin tumbler locks. I would say in America at least 95% of them, maybe even 97%, are pin tumbler locks. And they're also really common around the world. I'd put them like at 92%. And they all kind of function the same way. So I'm just going to go over this, but we're not going to learn the picking part today, because you can see past episodes in order to learn that. So if I could turn it right side up, what you normally have here is you have two components. You have the lock itself, and you have the key. The key here, as you can see, has all these like little cuts, these peaks and valleys. That's known as a bidding. Keys are bidded to the different pins inside of this pin tumbler. And if you can see here, you'll notice that all those driver pins at the top, and it would be the same with the key pins at the bottom that you can't see, are all out of order. Some are higher than the other, some are lower than the other, and whatever. And when you put the right key bidded to the right lock, and you put that in, you'll notice that they're all even now. So notice when I took them out, they're all up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like a bad cheat Konami code. And then when I put the key in, they're all aligned even. That's because all the driver pins are at the top, the key pins are at the bottom. That creates a little gap that functions to the entire shear line, which means the cylinder and the cylinder can rotate. When I do a full rotation, that's going to activate the actuator here. Remember that term, actuator. And when I turn to activate the actuator, the lock opens. That's what we've been used to on the show, and that's what you're probably used to with lock picking. Now, the thing that I get questions about all the time is, well, what about combination locks? What about locks that there's no key and there's a dial and a bunch of cryptic numbers or symbols and like, I'm trying to remember the camera, there we go. And it's like, oh, the camera's really behaving well today. I'm shocked. And like, what do you do about these? Well, there's a bunch of different techniques and we're going to go through them all. But the first thing I want to show you, what we're going to do is we're going to go from the most common and technically the most easy all the way up to the most difficult. Now, this is probably going to be a really funny episode because if everything works correctly, a lot of people think these combination locks are really complicated, and outside of a few issues that I will get into, and you're also going to see me do one live, that even though I know the principle of how to decode it, I have never, ever, I've never done this type of lock before, and we're going to do that at the end, and we'll see how long it takes me to do this. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to move the logo up in the corner so that you can probably better see it. There we go. There it is, Master of Unlocking. I also want to reiterate again, if you have any questions, if I'm going too fast or slow, if you have questions about the techniques I'm using, please let me know in chat. Otherwise, just keep watching and educate. And if you like this content, you can click like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure you get all of our notifications. And I will know you did that because I will see the pop-ups on the stream, whether you're on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. So, we're going to start off with what I feel like is probably the easiest, and then we're going to go up to not necessarily difficult, but I guess more complicated, more variables, and then we're going to try something that I haven't exactly done before. So, if you went to school, especially in the United States, you are probably really familiar with this guy. And just because most of my locks they all look like video games from Xbox 360 that are first-person shooters, like they're all black and gray and beige and bronze and all these earthly Quake on PC colors. I figure, and that's the computer, not politically correct. I figured that when I actually got a basic combination lock, that I would just get in a different color. And unfortunately, I couldn't find one in green. So I thought, you know what? How funny would it be if it was in pink? And plus, this is such a gaudy level of pink and magenta. I can see it from space. So in my kit, which is a black-gray case among black, gray, and silver objects, I will instantly know where this master lock is. This combination master lock. Now, this type of lock is so common that there's a lot of clones of these. So if you see almost any lock that's in this type of shape, whether it is, I think there's a Defiant version of this, I think there's a Brinks version and stuff like that, but if you see this with the what I call the nipple dial here, and the circular thing with one little indicator, and it's usually numerical, all of them are based on the same exact design that they haven't upgraded in 8 million years. I will also note, because we're going to get into this problem, that whether it's because of defects or just because of the way these are crappily put together, the technique I'm going to show you here will not work on every single one of these things, but it will work on the majority of these things. I would say like 98% of the time, the technique I'm going to show you here will work. And the crazy part is, people always are like, do you have to do, because I've seen people actually use math and try to crack these open. These were also the rumors around like the different school years that you had to use like algebra to figure this out, or like you'd have to disassemble this, or this hardened shackle actually does take a couple of clips with a giant bolt cutter in order to remove, so at least it's like has that level of security. But I'm going to show you, which probably will make you never get these, how really easy it is for these to decode. So here's the technique. If I was able to slice this open, and unfortunately I can't, and maybe later on I'll find a picture of it online to show. This nipple wheel here is in control of 3 different rings, and this is pretty much how most combination locks work. and you'll see that later when I show off a different combination lock. And those rings have different gates in them. The gate lines up with the correct number. Technically, this lock does not care what number it's on. The number that's correct lines up with an open gate. When all three open gates line up at this peak point here, basically there's nothing obstructing the actuator, so when you pull up on the shackle, this will open. And if you've ever used these, you will know that what you do is you like rotate it 3 times to the left to the rotate it 3 times to the right to find the first number. If I hope I remember the order correctly, but I believe you rotate it right. I'm trying to remember here. Hang on, let me check. To the right, turn right. Yep, you turn it right 3 times. And I don't know the number here. We're gonna guess this. But yeah, you turn this right 3 times to the correct number. Then you turn it past the original number, and then do the second number, and then when you turn it right again to get the third number and you pull down on it, the shackle should open. The reason why you have to do so many turns in different directions is that the different turns in the order manipulate the different wheels front to back. So the 3 right turn ones, when you go past 0, is that first wheel. Once that gate lines up, it will automatically dip into the second wheel. So as soon as you turn left, it's going to start turning the left wheel. And then when you're on the correct number for the left wheel and that gate's lined up, as soon as you turn right again, that's that final wheel. And then when all the gates are lined up, you can pull the shackle and open. So we don't know the number for this. I'm not going to show you the number, but we're going to decode this right here on air. So I hope you, especially if you're like kids out there, I hope you pay attention, because you probably interact with this lock so many times. And these locks are really cheap. You can get these between $3 to $5, and they're just so much fun to do without any tools and really impress your friends. So here we go. So before I do that, let me grab a tool real quick and remind you of everyone on the stream a very important technique. So going back to the pin and tumbler lock, right? Remember how I said that like there's 2 tools and one tool goes in and moves the pins, but the other tool is called a tension wrench or a tensioner tool or a pressure tool. And what you do is you put some tension on it, and that binds all the pins. Well, despite combination locks not using driver pins and key pins and being inside tumblers and all that stuff, decoding them actually relies on the same principle. You're basically exploiting that the tolerances on the gates for a lock that's this cheap and crappy. And it's not just Master Lock. All the variants of these from different companies that are this design with the nipple wheel, they all have really bad tolerances. The gates are really wide. So we're actually going to exploit that and feel for it. So here's what we're going to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to tension this, but obviously there's no keyhole. So what the tensioning is the shackle. Now here's the tricky part with these Master Locks, right? What you want to do is you're going to kind of test the tension. So the first thing I actually recommend to do is to spin this around like 3 times, just so that you can get the feel of what it's like when it's smooth spinning it. So then you know what to feel for when you tension it. So what you're going to do is you're going to apply light tension. You're going to pull the shackle up slightly. And the thing is, if it's too light, it will just be smooth like the way I just turned it. If you tension it too hard, you pull the shackle all the way up, it's going to click on every single bit of that wheel. So you have to, what I say is do light tension and then ramp it up. And you're going to probably feel like it drag and possibly click. And sometimes you'll hear it if it's quiet, just like you would a pin clicking into place multiple times. But we're only looking, there's only one gate that actually works, the true gate. So we're going to do some light tension, and now I'm going to start turning this. Okay, that was too light. Oh, felt a little click there. Let's put the tension a little bit higher. So it's dragging on a couple of these. It dragged on 39. It dragged on 25, and it's really dragging around the 5 area. So let's put that light tension again. It's very light tension pulling up on the shackle, and none of them clicked again. But note when I go past that 5, it's still catching here. So I'm going to do the tension one last time. And you don't have to do this that many times. I just want to show you how you would feel for this if you were new. That right there, or I can feel it around that, like, that number 7 area. That is either the beginning or the end of that gate. So once I found that, right, because that's the only one that when you do all the tensions, when you're on the lightest tension, it's going to click. That's the main gate. So to find the number, once you found that number, so that's 6, 7, 8, you're going to count up 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is the middle of the actual first positive gate. That is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this, I'm not used to this angle. That is number 13. So now we know 13 is the first number. Now, what we're going to do from here is we are going to do the same, I'm trying to remember this. We're going to do the same light to mid tension. And we're going to actually, first we're going to rotate past that first number. And regardless if it doesn't open, we remember the numbers for this. So the first one is 13. So remember, it's just like a normal lock here. Trying to remember right. So we're going to spin it left, and we're going to go past 13, 11, 12, 13, right? And now we're going to do one number up, and we're going to tension this with the light mid-tension, and we're going to feel if it catches. So it caught around there, and it's catching around here. It's catching around here. Catching around the 0. It's going to keep catching on the different numbers, and then back to the original. Now, how do we know which one's the right one? Because again, these tolerances are really low. Well, remember this because this is going to come important later. When you do the mid-tension and you're on a gate, you will realize that the one that's not it is going to be really loose. Like, not only can you turn past it with it tensioned, but you have a huge wiggle room here. So see that huge wiggle room? That's not it. That's probably the original first gate. So let's move past that and let's keep going. Okay, so that's very loose. Off tension. Put the mid to heavy tension on. That's also loose. Let's go back on again. Okay, so that one's super loose. Let's keep going. That one's super loose. That one's also super loose. Tension. Nope, look how little we can turn that. So by comparison, let's zoop around again. This is the one that wasn't it, and look how much. It's like we can make like a little song out of it, like do 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 do, and it's like a huge, like it jumps between 3 or 4 numbers, and I can easily turn out of it. Let's go back to that one that was closest to the 0. Heavy tension it. We can barely turn this thing. We can only do like a little tiny wiggle. That's the second disc. That's the gate on that second disc. So I would put that between 38, 39, and because I usually do it on the rotation, that's probably 39. So now what you do is with the last one, and we'll see if it pops open. If it doesn't pop open, we just enter the numbers in. So we have 13 and 39. What you do here, we take off all the tension, and you go back 2 numbers. 1, 2. Then pull the shackle. After the 2 numbers, and that beep is the dishwasher being done, you then keep counting back 4 numbers from the 2 numbers that you went back on, and you keep pulling, and you keep doing that until this opens. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. That didn't open. 1, 2, 3, 4. That didn't open. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're going to do, because so far we haven't had an open yet, right? Yep, we haven't had an open yet, is I'm going to reset this and we're going to go through the correct numbers again. Basically that would have opened, it's just that because I think I did an extra turn or to demo something, it didn't open properly. So that first number, and I'll actually do the tensioning again. So when we did the light tension, it caught around here. So we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 13. Oh, I forgot to spin it the 3 times. Okay, sorry about that. So let's do the 0. So 1, 2, 3, and let's do the light tension. We're going to feel for that, and it's going to dip around here, right? And then we're going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went up an extra number, but basically it's 13, right? And then we're going to go past that number, and then we're going to put the mid tension on. And I can feel it loose binding on a bunch of different things, but it true binds with very little wiggle room close to that 0, and I can't move it, right? So now we're going to do the same steps. So we're going to go back 2. So 1, 2, didn't work. So now we're going to count back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's pull again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. Let's try the numbers again normally and then do this. It's funny because normally it opens a lot faster than this, but I think I'm just screwing something up. I'm definitely screwing up something up that I don't realize. Alright, so let's do the normal methods because now we know the first 2 numbers. And I promise this will probably be way easier for you in the field. So we go 1, 2, 3 past 0. So that first number we decoded was 13, right? And then the next one should be 39. We go past 13. 4, 5, 36, 37, 38, 39, right? Now we're going to go 1, 2. Okay, so now we're going to go back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then open. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have an open. And that was the actual number, 13, 39, 29. I know in the future students of mine are probably going to cheat and check that number because you can't redo these numbers. But what I'm going to do, just in case, is I'm going to get more of these and they won't know the numbers for those. So, as a recap again, what you do for a basic, what I call the nipple dial locks, very common on Master Lock, but there's a ton of clones of these, is you first do the normal 3 turns, past 0. So that's 3, and then we do very light tension, like very light to light tension, and we find the one that it's going to stick on, which was around there, and then we're going to add 5 to that number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, that was off by 1, but 5. You see what I mean? And we got to the 13, and then we rotated past 13 to the left. And then we used moderate tension and figured out there's all these loose gates, but then we figured out that the one that doesn't budge, that barely budges, is 39. And then from that, after getting rid of all the tension, because that's the second gate, we count back 1, 2, and then if that doesn't open, we now count back 4 each time until we get an open. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that didn't open. Now we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. And because of the counting above, so I will actually recommend, because I forgot, that when you do that first number, reset it, do the 0 spin again, and then go to that first one. So let's try doing that, just so that we have like one perfect go through on this. So I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get this on camera correctly. So let's going to pretend that we don't have the number. So we're going to assume that actually we already found the 13, which was the whole doing the 3 zeros, and then which I'll actually do here and reset it, so I'll show you guys. So we're going to do the 1, 2, 3, right? And then we took that light tension and we went around until we found the one where it dipped, right? And then we counted up from 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was 13. So now that we know that that's 13, let's reset this. So we're going to do the zeros again. 1, 2, 3, and then spin it all the way to 13. And then we're going to go 1 notch past it. We're going to put on moderate tension on the shackle. And there's going to be all these very loose wiggles that it catches on. But the one where it is not budging at all, it's very low wiggle room, was on 39. And then we're going to count back to 1, 2. And if that didn't open, we're going to now count 4 back and keep doing until we open. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's try that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And for some reason I'm screwing up something here. I love it. I just showed the technique, and then for some reason I can't get it to work for me because welcome to the show. So let's just go back to the wide camera, and I'm just going to just do the normal number just to make sure that I didn't screw anything up mentally, because I've also had a long day today. So 1, 2, 3. Just want to make sure I have the combination correct, that I can like open this normally. Okay. So once again, you do the light tension and on the shackle, so you pull up and then it catches around there. So we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And now I'm going to reset that. 1, 2, 3, and go to that number again. And then with moderate tension, I'm going to go, it's going to catch on multiple things, but then the one where it has barely any wiggle room, which is right here, right? And now we're going to do 1, 2, doesn't open, and now we're going to count back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, doesn't open, 1, 2, 3, 4. I must be doing something odd with the shackle subconsciously. Again, this is why I do the show live. So I'm going to keep fiddling with this for a moment, but if anyone has any questions, please let me know, and we're going to get to the other locks very shortly, and that's going to be using this tool for the most part. So, here we go. So, I'm going to do that tension here. Catches around there. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Oh, I'm not going past the original number. That's what I'm leaving out. So that's the correct gate. So I think now if I take the tension off, go past that number, then do the moderate tension, it's going to get stuck on a bunch of these. I can feel them. But again, the one where it barely moves is that number. And then we're going to do 1, 2, and that doesn't open. So now we're going to do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now 1, 2, 3, 4. God, I must be really doing something wrong. Alright, so let's figure out if we've already decoded the first one. I love how I did this correctly twice in the bathroom before the stream, and now nothing works. I should probably really rename this show to, like, Blunders of Unlocking. 1, 2, 3. Or, you know what, I'm going to actually experiment here. I'm going to set the first 2 numbers, like if we decoded it. Like we already decoded those first 2 numbers, and then I'm going to try the counting back thing. And then if that doesn't work, then I must be doing something odd with the shackle. So we're going to go back 1, 2, pull the shackle, doesn't open, so now 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have an unlock. So what I guess I'd recommend to do is that once you figured out the first 2 numbers, just do the 3-0 spin again to reset it, and then pick those 2 numbers that you've decoded. The first one, the second one. The first one's the light tension. It's going to be the only one that locks. And the second one's the moderate tension, but it's going to have the least wiggle room. So then you reset the 3 zeros, you pick those 2 numbers, and then you do the count backwards method of 2 spaces, and then if that doesn't open, you keep doing 4 until it opens, and then you should have it open. So that was my screw up there. So it takes a little bit longer. So to recap, and then we're going to go on with these locks, we're going to do the first method of decoding. So I'm going to do light tension. It's going to spin around, but it's going to catch around there. Yep. And then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we know that that's that number. And then I'm going to go past the original wheel here. And I'm going to do moderate tension. And it's going to catch on a bunch of these. And it's going to have huge wiggle room. on a bunch of these, but the first one that I encounter where it barely tweaks, that one, that's that number. So now let's reset everything. So let's go 1, 2, 3, and let's try this. So that was the first number, and now we're going to go to the second number that we found. This is the first time I'm actually teaching this in public here, so this is funny, even though I know how to do this method. So we're going to go back to try the shackle. That didn't open, so now we're going to do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That didn't open, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and it opened. So that's the full method right there for a normal lock. You probably see these on a lot of school lockers and gym lockers and just basically everything. You get these for $3 to $5. They're really fun to play around with and like decode for your friends. Keep in mind about seizing the different combinations, because that's going to be a thing. And to prove that, we're now going to go into the other tools, and then we're going to circle back around to this guy. So the next common lock that you probably have seen is, and let's change the camera here. Oh, actually, you know what we're going to do? I'm actually going to go on a slight break here, but in a really fun way. So if we can go to the browser, and that's our website here. Let's turn off the video camera. So speaking of those combination locks, so this is DEFCON201.org. We're going to very soon, probably in the next week, post our October, at least by October 1st, we're going to have our new meetups up. By the way, if you really like the content that you see here on the show on Masters of Unlocking, or you want to check out the other ones, other shows such as Hackall and Commander, Archvile Linux Perspective, my other show, Crypto Barons, or some of the specials that will occasionally pop up, including one I'm going to try to do for this Friday, and or you want to have a notification for when our October meeting is going to happen, which will be happening that third Friday of the month, so that'll be October 16th. You can hit that bell, click like, share, subscribe to Twitch, D Live, or YouTube, and every time you do that, I get a pop-up notification and I cheer everyone on. It's really fun. That tool organization I was talking about is this, which is for some reason stuck in a loading loop. There we go. The Open Organizational Lock Pickers, that's TOOOL, tool with 3 O's. They have a whole mission statement that they follow, and you can sign up and join to be a member. It's under maintenance right now, but I think it's like $20 a year, although check, because that might change. You can also check up on different bylaws of the group. And a cool function that they don't show here is that if you go to the main website, so that's TOOL, tool with 3 O's.us, and you type in, I think it's laws.html, it will actually bring up a map showing, now lockpicking is pretty much legal in most of the United States, but this sort of gives you like different stipulations. I know it's very tiny text, but stipulations, and the few problematic states where I don't know why. Nevada is odd right now, Oklahoma's odd, the bad one's Tennessee. I don't know who did what in Tennessee to make lockpicking feel weird outside of Virginia, but yeah, I would say outside of like Tennessee, it's pretty much okay everywhere. But if you really want to know the laws, particularly in the United States, because I don't know for the rest of the world, you can check there. It's not on the main website, so it's kind of like a secret. And they also sell their own equipment here. They've actually updated their equipment, so they have these new leather cases, and they've redone their lockpicking set, so now they have the necessary 9. What else have they added? Because I know they've added finally a normal clear see-through lock that is not a padlock, and we're going to get to that eventually, a dimple lock. And I think that's it that they've added, but you can get a lot of stuff, including t-shirts. But yeah, that's when I talk about with Tool. But speaking of those combination locks, now if you want to drive yourself crazy, I'm going to take a break while I rehydrate and everything. A couple of years ago, there was a crazy dude who built a Arduino machine that in under 2 minutes actually picks these common master lock ones. So even though you saw how, because the thing I showed you, that technique came years later. So there's now way new techniques that don't involve crazy math, where you can figure out how to decode them like you just saw on air. I just forgot that you have to reset it and do the first 2 numbers, and then it works. But So you can see how fast we decoded that. But if you wanted to go crazy and you're a hardware person and you want to build something, you can use an Arduino and a bunch of servos and build this thing. And so while I do a quick hydration break, this is going to go on for about 12 minutes. I actually have a video. Oh, did not click on that correctly. I have a video of that presentation. So I'm just going to drag. Where's the logo over? I think it's going to be about here. No, it's going to be here. And enjoy this crazy Arduino project of how to do in a more complicated way, but really cool hardware, how to decode those using math and an Arduino and servos. And I'm going to refill water and we're going to get back to the rest of these locks. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Sammy, and today we're going to be going over Combo Breaker. Combo Breaker is a motorized, battery-powered, 3D printed Arduino-based device that can crack any master combination lock in under 30 seconds. First, let's see it in action, and then I'll go step by step in how I designed and built this and how you can build your own. If you haven't seen my previous videos on cracking master combination locks, check those out first. In the first video, I go over how to crack any master combination lock in under 2 minutes with less than 8 tries without any device at all, just using your hands and an online tool I built for you. In the second video, I actually drill open a combination lock so you can see what's going on inside, how it works, and how the vulnerability works. Now in this video, I'm actually going to go step by step in building the Combo Breaker yourself. First, let's go over a simpler version of Combo Breaker that you can build much quicker and for much cheaper. And we'll understand some of the basic components and then go from there and build the more advanced version. First, let's determine what kind of motor we need to actually control the dial. We'll obviously need to turn the dial both ways, and we'll need some pretty fine controls. At first, I thought about using something like a DC motor. The problem with a DC motor is that even if you control it really quickly or really slowly, for the most part, once you tell it to stop, it's not actually going to stop. It will actually free run for a little bit. So a DC motor wouldn't work in this scenario. You could also use an optical encoder or some sort of rotary encoder on the back to determine what position it's in. But again, as soon as you stop it at the right position, it will continue to run. So the DC motor was out. I also thought about potentially using a servo motor. The servo motor, you could use a continuous rotation so that it could rotate continuously, but the servos are pretty slow because they're geared to have torque rather than to quickly control. And inside it's really just a gear motor, so we might have some of the same issues. Ultimately, I decided to use a stepper motor. In this case, you can get a stepper motor pretty cheap, like this guy right here. You can get them on eBay, and I actually link to a stepper motor that I used from the website. And in my case, I wanted to actually use a smaller stepper motor. So I found this guy, which is called a pancake stepper motor, just because it's so thin, but it's also pretty powerful. Another thing I did was I calculated how fast it would rotate compared to other stepper motors so that I'd have one that could rotate at least a few times per second, which is pretty impressive for steppers as they're really meant for precision. The nice thing about a stepper motor is that it's very precise. When you tell it to go somewhere, it pretty much will, unless there's too much force. And as soon as you tell it to stop, it stops at that position. The next step in driving a stepper motor is to use a stepper motor driver. I used initially an easy driver. An easy driver is a breakout board for the Allegra A3967 stepper driver. And this supports up to 30 volts and 750 milliamp for your stepper motor. My stepper that I was using could actually go up to an amp, so I wanted to drive it a little bit faster, so I actually upgraded to a smaller stepper driver, which is the Allegro A4988. And that's this little guy here. You'll also see there's a little dial on there that allows you to actually control the current output. So you don't want to overdrive your stepper motor, so you'll actually want to control this and make it a little less than what your stepper is rated for. For the brains of the device, I used an Arduino Nano, specifically running an 18 mega 368, and I used a 5 volt version. I like the Arduino Nano. It's easy to use. It has USB for fast programming, and it has an onboard voltage regulator, so you can give it up to 20 volts and it'll bring it down to 5 volts. Now let's actually figure out how we're going to connect the stepper motor to the dial so that the stepper motor will turn the dial. For this, I learned some basic CAD so that I could produce a 3D model and then have it 3D printed. If you don't have access to a 3D printer, you should look for a local hackerspace or makerspace in your area. I go to CrashSpace in Los Angeles. Those guys are awesome. They've taught me so much in many of these areas. Additionally, if you don't have a hackerspace or makerspace where they don't have with a 3D printer, what you can do is you can go online and send a 3D model, and I'll include some links to places that you can do that where they'll then ship you a printed piece. So let's get some measurements here. Let's understand the size of the motor shaft, the stepper motor shaft. So this looks like a standard sort of 5 millimeter stepper motor shaft. You'll note that this is actually shaped like a D rather than a circle. So we need to understand both of those measurements, and we'll write these down. So we know it's 5 mil for the widest part, and for the shortest part, the shortest diameter is about 4.5. Okay, so let's write that down. So here's our stepper motor. Just make a really big shaft here. Actually, oops. It's actually a D. That's what it is. All right. So here we have our 5 mil, and then we'll call the shorter piece, and we'll just write over here, 4.5. Okay, and for our lock, we have the dial. So let's figure that out. And the dial itself actually is wider on the inside, closer to the numbers, and thinner on the outside. So let's get those both measurements. All right, let's just understand sort of the widest. So it's 19, about 19 mil. It actually goes down to 18, but 19 should suffice. And also, let's see about how long is it? It's about 8 mil. Close enough for this. So let's just do our lock here, and then we have our dial. So we will say this is, call that 19 mil, and we said it goes in about 8 mil. Man, it's handwriting. I never get past middle school. Okay. Cool, so now let's draw it up. Now for this project, I learned some basic CAD and 3D modeling. I'm using Autodesk Fusion 360. I like it because it works on OS X and Windows. It's free for 30 days or free for 3 years if you're a student. Also, Autodesk has some other software like 123D Design, which is indefinitely free. Also, if you can, get a copy of their older software called Inventor Fusion, which is also entirely free and is pretty good. It's actually faster than Fusion 360 and more powerful than 123D Design. Although it's end of life, it's not as current as those software. But they're all very similar, and Autodesk themselves have great videos on their YouTube, so you can actually learn how to use the software pretty quickly just by going through their videos. First, we'll draw the shaft here. It's a D ring, essentially, or a D shaft, and we'll give it a millimeter around of thickness for the body. And now we'll want to extrude it or pull it up 15 millimeters, the length of our shaft here. Yours may be different. And now we'll want to grab the dial. So that's 19 millimeters, and we'll also want a millimeter around. So we had 2 millimeters for 21, 1 mil on each side. Give it 1 millimeter of thickness here. Now let's go ahead and grab the dial. So that was 9 millimeters. It was actually around 8, but it's okay from some space. And let's add teeth to this guy so that it will actually grab onto the grooves within the dial pretty well. Let's create one tooth here, and let's extrude it. Actually, let's make it a separate body, and let's pull it down to the bottom here. And now we can actually pattern this around the origin. The origin is the center of our 3D space here. And we'll create 8 of these. All right, now we have that. Let's just combine the different bodies together into one piece, so it just prints as one piece. And let's fillet the edge here, make it a little pretty. And that's that. Awesome. All right, so here's our first version using an Arduino Nano, the Easy Driver, the stepper motor, and our 3D printed model. And we just have a slow turn here. You can see how it holds on pretty well. It's pretty strong grip, so even if I'm holding it like upside down, there's no problem. Both sides are gripping on really well here. And it's actually really easy to pull out and put back on, no problem. Those teeth grip really well. And now we can start brute forcing. Now this is the simpler version, right? So there's no way to test for the vulnerabilities in our first version or in the first videos that I demonstrated. And we also have to manually pull on the shackle. With the more advanced version, we don't have to pull on the shackle. We actually have everything done for us. We have a stepper motor, and on the end we actually have this optical rotary encoder, which actually determines where the location of the dial is. This way, when we're pulling up on the shackle and we can't turn the dial, the stepper motor knows, or actually our software knows that the dial is not turning. Additionally, with the servo I'm using here, we also have an analog feedback, which tells us the position of the servo horn here, so that we know if we're hitting the shackle and we can't lift any further, if we can't, let's say, open it, then we know we did not open successfully and can return back down. And you can see everything on here. So now that we have this first one down, we can create some basic software to brute force. While we're doing this, you would have to manually open it, but let's see how fast we can do some brute forcing here. So it looks like it only takes under 2 seconds per combination, even with our simplified device. In the next video, I'll go over the advanced combo breaker and how I designed it, why I chose the pieces I did, such as the optical rotary encoder on the back and the analog feedback servo over, say, a solenoid, and other design and code decisions in building this entire thing. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to get more sneak peek videos and first looks at the hacking tools I'm creating and research I'm doing, please join my mailing list. You can subscribe from my website at sammy.pl. Thanks. Bye.
So that was the very complicated way to make an Arduino to solve in under 2 minutes or 2 seconds or whatever a master lock combination using brute forcing techniques with math and stuff. The method I showed you though works pretty fast, works in about a minute at max if you know what you're doing. And just thought I would share that because that was at Roots Asylum, which is a sort of a hacker conference for kids that takes place at DEFCON every year, except for this year because DEFCON was canceled. Instead, there was DEFCON Safe Mode, and Roots decided not to do like live broadcasts or whatever. And one of these days, I'm going to figure out either a better logo or where to put this logo properly so it's not in the way. But and I have more water hydration charge. So cheers for everyone watching. And that guy actually presented at Roots Asylum at DEFCON. So I thought that was kind of a weird way, especially looking back like 6 years ago, of how people were like developing like Arduinos and stuff and hardware to decode these things, when, as you can see, we can just decode this by hand. And to quick recap, I'll show you how here. I'll actually do this while I talk about this. So for everyone out there who doesn't know, I'm Sidepocket. That's how people know me on the internet. I am one of the 2 co-founders of DEFCON 201, DEFCON 201 is a computer hacker. Actually, let's go to the close-up cam. DEFCON 201 is a computer hacker group that is located out in Jersey City, New Jersey. Yes, we're all the way out in Jersey. And this is our show, Master of Unlocking, where I teach how to normally pick open locks, but with this episode, we're actually going to learn how to decode combination locks. So, if you really like this type of content, if you want to learn more about lock stuff, because there will be future episodes, I normally broadcast every other Sunday. And there's other shows too, like Hack, Alt, and Commander, as well as Arch Violinix Perspective, and sometimes we're going to do specials. We're going to try to do a special that I can't announce yet, but we're working on it for Friday. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask in chat, otherwise lurk and learn. And I love everyone in chat. If you want to follow us, subscribe to us, hit that like button, turn on that bell notification to get notifications when shows like mine and others show up. We do get alerts for those on the screen, and I like cheering those on as I move our logo up to its new appropriate corner. There you go. And I see those alerts pop up on the screen, and I cheer you on. So that's kind of how this channel goes. But let's go back to this. So you kind of saw we just did the this normal common, I like to call this the nipple dial master lock that you see at every school and every gym locker on the planet. Very easy to decode. That technique, like I said, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that in a second, doesn't work on everything, but it will work on like the majority of these type of locks. So let's go into some of the other ones here now. Often when you think of combination locks, you're actually often, let's move that, maybe move my leg out of the way, there we go. You're probably thinking of a lock like this as the police drive by. This is known as a Master Lock 175. You've probably seen these around. These have been in print since the 70s, and the current version is known as the Master Lock 175D, and there's lots of variants that we'll get into. But usually what you see on these combination locks is there are 4 different wheels, and they each have a different number or whatever on them, and you have to figure out the right number combination, right? That's kind of how this works. Now, like I said, this was printed back in the 70s, and so this is so common, this 175 design, that I wish I could show you an x-ray of what it looks like on the inside. I can't. In the future, I'm going to have one dremeled out so you can see. But there's there are many locks out there that use the same design. For instance, this much more durable lock that we're going to get to, which is known as I think the Master Lock MX78 something XD. It's like some complicated robotic name. This looks tough, and this shackle is really tough, and has a ball bearing holder for the shackles, so you can't really shim this really easy. And even then, the hexagonal design of the shackle makes it really hard to shim. But if you notice with the dials here, this looks very similar to the Master Lock 175, and that's because internally it is actually the same. Now, and I will get into this in a moment. Normally what I would do is take a tool like this, and I'll explain what this is in a second. And there's an exploit in these that are in every single Master Lock 175 variant, where I go to the right side of the first wheel here. I believe it's the right side. Nope, hang on. Maybe it's the left side. Yep, left side of the first wheel. I push down the shackle, move that actuator up, and it opens. And this works on pretty much every Master Lock 175. But I want to show you something. What I meant about when I said that the technique I showed you with the nipple master locks, this pink girl right here, or pink boy, because, you know, screw gender and colors. Colors are just colors. And if you're colorblind, how would you know? There's a reason why I can't show you this bypass on this Master Lock 175, even though it's a Master Lock 175. And that is because, watch what happens when I try to put it on the left side of the third wheel. It can't go in properly. It goes in at the wrong angle no matter what I do. This stumped me for a while until I showed my mentor, Night Owl, this. And he inspected it. And here's what happened. This Master Lock 175 has a defect. Basically, one of the wheels, probably this wheel, this third wheel going from the left to the right, is actually slightly bigger than the rest of the wheels. It's a factory defect. That's why when I try to put this in here to do the shimming method, I can't shim it because the wheel is so huge that none of these wheels will let me into the lock. So ironically enough, by having a major manufacturing defect, we actually improved the security of this master lock. So yes, that's basically Master Lock's motto. All master locks basically suck unless there's an actual manufacturing issue and it actually improves the security. That's how much master lock sucks. There's a lot of traffic jams outside. So what would we do? Well, on this guy, it's older version and modern version. We're going to use the same technique. And what we're going to do is we're going to decode this. In order to decode this, let me get a nice black background to show you this on. I'm actually going to use this guy. What we're going to use is this tool. This is a common tool. You've probably seen these. If you ever go to lockpicking shops, you probably have seen these. This particular one is from Sparrows. You can tell because of that, the Sparrows logo at the bottom corner. And this is known on Sparrows as the Ultra Decoder. But if you ever see a decoder and it's shaped like this, with like this, like it's like it's really thin, and it's shaped and it has this tapered end. It's not like a straight point, like a little knife. Like it looks like a knife, but it's more like a butter knife than a pokey knife. And it's flat and this tilt and everything. That's a decoder, and they're really thin. You can actually hear it when I flick it. It's really thin, really flexible, right? And the reason why it's called the Ultra Decoder is because, and this is why I love lockpicking, because every tool basically pretty much sounds exactly like it does, is you use this to decode those combination wheels. And that's what we're going to do here. Now, there are many different techniques, and I always have problems with this guy. In fact, the defects on this guy might make this actually, again, harder to do. And I'm going to show you basically how this works by bringing up a video real quick, and then we're going to decode both of these in real time. So let's go back to the browser. And remember how I talked about there was a guy named Devin Olam? He's a good acquaintance of mine, and he's one of the main head honchos at Tool. He literally wrote the book on modern lockpicking, and he has a great video about decoding, but I just want to show everyone this segment. So if you were able to see the gaps between the wheels, which would be hard on my camera, you'll notice that the number wheels, they're all these like different like cylinders, just like kind of like the inside of the master lock, except these are oriented in a different field, and you can actually see all cylinder rotation. So you see that red highlight there? That's the actual cylinder. That's the gap. That's what we're going to actually put our decoder tool on. We're going to put them on one of the sides of the wheels, and often, unless we know the exact model, we won't know which side of the wheel this is going to be on, so we're going to have to guess. This is, again, it's not exact science. And then you'll notice that on the wheel, if you were able to see it, there's a little notch cut out pointed by that red arrow and highlighted in red. That is the gate, like what I talked about in the master lock, except again, these are arranged in a different way. So just like the master lock, but arranged in a different way, you have three wheels, and they each have a gap in them. That's the gate. And the gate allows you to actually engage with the actuator by pulling on the shackle to open the lock. So what you're going to want to do, and hopefully it'll transition a moment with the tool here, is as you can see with these little side bands, you're going to stick the decoder, because the metal is thin enough and the handle should be sensitive enough in order to stick in there and feel, and you're going to feel that gap. And like I said before, is that this is not an exact science, as you can see here. And again, it doesn't really matter the number. The number is just for the humans to read as the ambulance drives by. So as you can see, you're going to put that tool in there, that wedge, and you're going to rotate the wheel around, and it's going to feel smooth. You're not going to feel anything, but when you feel something odd, whether it tilts or goes down or whatever, the tool should slide and obstruct that in that gap and obstruct the turning, and that's how you know which gate it is. Now, just because you have the gates does not mean they're all going to open. Basically, what you're doing here is you're making sure that all the gates are properly lined up. Unlike the master lock, what's going to happen with the gates properly lined up is then we're on the proper alignment, but we just need to put them in the right thing. So they're not all going to be straight up like this. And what you're going to have to do is turn them incrementally each of the correct time until it lines up with the actual actuator valve. So we're going to do pull it, turn, pull it, all in sync, because once they line up with the actual actuator valve, that will pass through, the actuator will activate, unlock the shackle, and it will open. So thank you, Deviant Olam, for that video. If I can go here, his channel is, just type in Deviant Olam, DEVIANTOLL, that's 2 L's, AM, and he's one of the main head honcho guys at TOOOL. He's helped me a lot every time I'm actually able to see him, and he also helps me out online, and you learn a lot about locks, building security, and whiskey from him, and maybe sometimes some firearms too, so it's pretty neat. He does a lot of mechanical stuff, very traditional manly stuff, but not like in an obnoxious, not in like an incel way, so like good on for him. So let's go back to here. So like I said, and let's get to the close-up cam. And it's been a while since I've actually done this 175, so I actually can't remember, because I know the other modern one works, but we're going to try this on cam. So what we're going to do, and there's many different techniques here. Now, what normally a lot of people do is they put it in that gap, and they kind of rub across, and they try to feel for it. This is going to be difficult to do because of the wheels. There's also a technique where you can actually wedge it in the wheels, and then tilt, and then turn the wheels and then pull back slightly, and basically if this pulls back a lot, that's the actual gate. You can do that to each wheel. And then there's another technique which we're going to cover later, and again we're going to try different techniques here, where what you can do is you actually hold it so that the entire flat side is pointing in, and you roll these around, and it works on the principle that, you know, if you're turning the wheels and you're holding it like this, you know, you can easily jump past a bump. But if you're pushing towards an edge and there's a ridge, you will actually catch, like it does on this table, that ridge, and it won't move, and that's how you know. So we're going to try different techniques here on this. So first of all, I'm trying to figure out what side, and this is tricky because, again, this does have factory defects in them. So I kind of don't know which technique might work. We're actually going to try the tilting one first. And again, the problem is that these wheels are accidentally oversized, and they're hard to turn. So the defects in this might make it super difficult to decode, but we're going to find out. And then I have a special one for you. So I don't think that's quite working. So let's reset this back to 0 again, and let's see if we can actually do it where it's the one where it's pointing. I might actually try. The defects might make this one like completely defective to pick, so we're going to find out. I think I felt something there. Put that there. And I don't know which side this one works on the best. I'm just like quite literally guessing. So let me try the other side. See if I felt for that again. Again, the oversized wheels of the defect on this one makes this difficult to do. In fact, it's just difficult to turn the wheels. So unfortunately, I'm not going to decode this guy just because I think there's just so many defects. I'm going to have to get a new basic one, Master Lock 75. But let's try the technique to its more modern cousin. So we're not going to do the bypass on this one for a particular reason that I will announce at the end of the stream. We are instead going to use the decoding method. So I believe the one that works on this is the one where I put this in at the angle, and then if it dips, it works. So we're gonna find out. So I'm gonna slide that, and I know it's the left side of the wheels here. Yep. See, I'm so used to sitting down and doing this. Eventually, I'm gonna get a camera holder. I think it caught around there. Let's try that again. Hold on. Okay, I think that might be one. If that doesn't work, we're gonna try the another technique. In fact, I'm having a little bit of an issue here, so let me reset these all to 0, and then I will we'll do the other technique. see if that works better. It should. So I'm going to hold this like that. I'm going to push up until it catches. Yep. I think it caught around there. Let's try that again. So let's make sure we're doing it on the right side of the wheel here. That one's completely smooth, so I think we're on the right side. Let's try to feel for that again. Actually, let's do the individual method. So I didn't feel a dip there. Dip. No dip there. No dip there. No dip there. Also, if you look at one of the past episodes of Master of Unlocking, I did one where it was entirely, might be a dip there, but we'll see. I did one that was DIY tools. Uh-oh. I think I found the gate. Yeah, I think I found the gate, so I think it's that. So we're going to hold it to that. And it's on the left side. Okay, so we did one with DIY tools, and so if you're broke like what I usually am, I finally got some money in, but I'm still struggling, still doing the hustle out there. But yeah, if you're too broke, but you need, if you want to do, I think this is it. Yeah, I think that's it. An ultra decoder. What you can do here, and hopefully these are not false gates, is you can actually make, oh, I think we already found it. Nope, let's keep going. You can actually make these out of like a soda can or its equivalent. Okay, I think I found it there. We're going to try. If not, we're going to do it again because I might have also screwed up the technique. But yeah, you can actually get a soda can, right? And you can, okay, we're going to try this. And you can make one out of them because the metal's thin enough. Alright, so obviously we can't open this. So what you're going to do is you're going to move each dial up and do it. If none of the numbers work, I'm going to reset them all to 0 and try them again. So let's move everything up a number, or down a number I should say. That didn't work. Let's move the number again. It's really tricky on this one to try to only do one number at a time. Again, if I do an error, then I will I'll just reset and then feel for it again. This is also kind of interesting because I've actually never done this standing up. I'm usually sitting down doing this. And often with these, because I know it's a 175 variant. I usually just do the bypass anyhow because I'm like a freaking pleb. Alright, I'm going to actually reset this and I'm going to sit down and we're going to feel for it. And so I'm actually going to turn off the close-up cam and we're going to do this on the far away cam just so I can have better concentration. And then I'll do the close-up cam when we spin the numbers back. So I'm going to reset all the numbers to 0. Go do some hydration squad. If you have any questions out there, if I'm going too fast or you need clarification of something, or you want to ask questions about what I'm doing, the past episodes, my crazy hair, why my hands look this good, things like that, you can shout them out in chat. I love talking to the chat. If not, as the co-founder is going to walk by in a moment, if not, keep lurking because I know the lurkers are actively watching and learning while I screw up. So we're going to do the field technique again. So I'm actually going to do this way. So I know it's on the right side of the wheel. move up a number. Kind of felt something sticking at 9. Yeah, let's move back up to 9. Nope, not this time actually. Okay. So a lot of times these decoders also eventually get bent and they get little nicks in them and stuff. My mentor Night Owl actually often buys, like he gets these, I forget what they're called from Peterson's, but there's a manufacturer in upstate New York called Peterson's. They have a store online. I believe there's I think their store is called thinkpetersons.com or something like that. I think I may have found the gate there, but let's double check. And I know that he buys like a ton of these. I think that's the gate. Let's go to 4. Yeah, I think, let's go at 5. I think that's the gate. Or actually, hang on. 4 might be the gate. Yeah, let's do it 4. Alright, let's feel for this guy. Because when it starts getting stuck, I know that we're around the gate that it should be at. If not, we're going to try a different technique that usually works. It's actually been a while since I've done decoding, so I'm actually really excited to do this, which is probably why I'm making so many mistakes on air, although if you know so far I've been correcting them as we go. Because I had most of these. I actually just got the Master Lock and another thing a while back, like earlier today, but all this other stuff, including this decoder tool, I've actually had for a while. So after going through all of these, I think 9-8 area, that like 8-7 area, I think is the actual gate, if I'm correct. Alright, let's try this other wheel. And again, there's different techniques. We're going to try different ones here. Ooh, that one just instantly fell in. Is it like that with the rest of them? Let's find out. Yeah, I think that's the gate. And then let's search for this guy here. So far nothing. Yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind since September, especially when Ginsburg died. Like, that was I know she's been struggling with health stuff, but that was like a complete shock. So I think I'm kind of with everyone that, like, regardless of what political line you're on, like, she really, like, fought just literally for U.S. law. And, like, in my opinion, you have to, like, respect that no matter what her opinions or anyone else's opinions are, unless you're Mitch McConnell, because Mitch McConnell only respects the money that he's paid by foreign governments. So that's, like, a whole thing right there. So I don't feel any on these upper numbers. But I think there's like a dip around here. Yeah. Might be that 4 or not. Let's find out. Yeah, it's between 4 and 5. Let me slightly feel better for this. Yeah, it's around that 4. Alright, so we're going to attempt to do this again. So that didn't open, so now we're going to adjust the numbers. I'm actually going to move the numbers up this time. And hopefully, eventually, we'll get pay dirt. See, I'm trying not to skip over numbers because the wheels on this, I'll probably need to get a new one eventually, are kind of so worn out that it's really easy to skip over a number. And if not, then there's one final technique that I think we can use that might work. This is probably the most quiet episode of Master of Unlocking we've done. What also sucks too is I recently clipped my thumbnails because they were getting too long, and I kind of over clipped them. So now it's really difficult for me to turn these dials in like a precise individual manner. Yeah, she also had a chin. I think that's also something Mitch McConnell doesn't understand, is the concept of what a chin is. And like, I know that's technically racism against like turtles, but I just wanted to point that out on air. Okay, so I apparently screwed that pooch, so we're going to reset all the dials again. I'm going to try one technique, and then if not, if I don't open this on air this episode, no matter what the next episode is, I will do a correct technique that should be guaranteed to open this. Because this technique, I'm always a little fuzzy on exactly how I do this. So, I'm going to find out here. 8 in ice cube. So this technique, if I remember correctly, is that I believe you are pushing the wheel in. Again, you're tilting it. And then as soon as this thing dips, that should be the correct wheel. So I just want to try this again here, just to make sure I have this on the right thing. So I believe it's like that. Hold that in place, and then as soon as it dips, again, it's really hard to do these numbers individually. So dip there, so that should be it. So now I'm going to do it, and the way I have it is I have the flat angle at the bottom here. I'll actually go up to the close-up stream and show this. Oh, wrong thing. Sorry about that. I actually have the flat end at the bottom of the wheel. And so you see how there's like a tilt there? There's like it like slopes at one side, it's flat on the other. That flat edge I'm sticking at the bottom of the right side of the wheel in this case. And I'm doing it so that I don't see that curve anymore, so it looks like one straight piece of metal. And I pull back slightly on the handle, although if you want to be more careful, you should actually probably pull back slightly on the decoder. You don't have to use a lot of pressure on this. Your goal is not to pick the thing open. The goal is to feel for a movement, because the problem is that it's really easy, and I actually have an example somewhere of a previous one that I didn't do, but someone else didn't do, but I'm not going to go into that story because I think they're cranky when they came home, so I don't want to upset them. But basically, it's easy to break decoders, and that's why, for example, my mentor Night Owl, not only does he buy them from Peterson's, he buys like 3 of these. God, with my clipped thumbnails, it's so hard to turn. I'd actually have to see. The problem is I'm trying to show this on camera. I'm probably going to have to use my index finger for this. Yep. So that was a dip, so I think that's one number. Let's try that for here. Oh, there was a dip, so that should be the second. That's the second, sorry, that's the third gate. And then let me try that again, just because I think I got a false dip there. Because it also could be the number just came up that soon. So I got a dip there, but let me just keep turning just to make sure. Okay, that was the dip, so it's between 3 and 2. I'm going to set this on 3. So now we're going to do the whole wheel spinning thing. So that didn't open, so I'm going to move the number up. So actually, that number wasn't quite set, so let's try that again. Nope. And again, if I don't open this one on air, I apologize. Just because it's been a while and I'm now getting hungry. If I don't open this one on air, the next episode, regardless of what topic it is, I will open. I also hope I'm not skipping numbers here, because that also could be an issue. Because that means then the wheels are out of sync. Because again, like maybe 2 weeks will help with me because I don't have like the nailage. I would say if you want to decode, having proper nails that aren't clipped, that aren't too long, but like you have some decent nailage, like a couple, like, you know, 1 or 2, like half a cm to a cm would help with this. And also probably just doing the technique wrong. The other ones honestly should be easier to open. In fact, we're going to get one that's going to be super easy to open in a moment. And yeah, I think you're all going to be shocked by how easy it is to open that one. I think I'm skipping numbers by accident. Oh well, I might return to this one. So I'm sorry for not being able to open this one on air. Due to a combination of factors, my brain has the dumb right now. But I might come back to this at the end of the episode. If not, I'll open that particular one. And this is the one that just is, for some reason, is always camera shy. I always open it, whether it's decoding it or shimming it or whatever, when it's non-air. But for some reason, every time I'm on air, I think you folks have only seen me open it twice, and I have this bastard on nearly every episode. So there's that. Now, Masterlock is aware, even though they mostly don't give a crap, about these 175 designs with the shim bypass that you can do with the same decoder tool. So what they eventually made is this guy. This is an MX something something or the other. This is supposed to be the successor to these 175s, and not only have they designed the metallic body, so you can't really put this between the wheels. See? God, I hope this doesn't break now. Hold on. Taking this off camera. There we go. I hate to buy another one of these. But yeah, you can't jam it in there and move the actuator like you can with the other 175s. But even if you try to feel for it, what they've done is they've put little tiny bumps on the wheels, and those are called false gates. So you'll feel the dip or a catch, and you think you have the gate, but you don't. And that's supposed to make this really hard to decode. Here's the problem, though. The false gates, one, they put a false gate on every single number on this wheel. So every single number on here has a gate. Most of them are false gates. And then there's only one true gate. Meaning, just like you can with this base nipple design master lock, you don't need any tools to decode. You could use the decoder to decode it, but you'll have so many false gates that would drive you crazy. So instead, what you can do is you pull on the shackle like you did with that master lock, and you move the numbers around. Now what you do here is just like with that one. Remember the second one where I said there's a bunch of bumps and they move a lot, but then there was one that barely moved? You're looking for the same thing on this one. So all the false gates move a lot back and forth. Like I think this is one of those where I can just manhandle this and it almost goes to the other number. The true one is barely going to budge back and forth, and that's how you know it. So I just want to make sure I have the tension correct. So I'm going to release tension, move it up a number, let's wiggle it. That one actually doesn't wiggle a lot, so I think that might be the right number, but let's keep going just to make sure. And again, I don't really have nails, so that one wiggled a lot. Let's release the tension. Put this back. Yeah, that one barely wiggles, but let's try the number above it. Let's go number 4. Hang on a moment. Okay, let's try number 5. That one wiggles a lot. Number 4 doesn't wiggle as much. Let's go back to that number 3 just to make sure. Okay, so I think it's between 3 and 4, the number. Let's just try a number above it. Let's try a different hand. Yeah, this one wiggles a lot, so I'm just going to leave this at number 3 and hope for the best here. So let's try the second one. So start 0. This thing moves a lot. Take off the tension. Move the next number, pull down. This one also moves a lot. Take off the tension. That one barely moves, I think. So let's try the number above it. That one also barely moves. Hope I'm not going crazy here. That one moves a lot. Number 5 moves a lot. Number 6. Number 7 I think moves a lot. Again, we're going to keep trying here. Number 8 barely moves, I think. Let's try to turn it. See, I think 8 or 9 might be it, but let's feel for it again. Oh. Or maybe it's 1 and 2. Man, I wish I had proper nails. That one moves a lot. Let's go back to 8 again, see if that one moves. Barely moves. 7 moves a lot. 9 barely moves. Let's go back to 2 again, just to eliminate. Okay, so I believe it's around 8, so I'm just going to set it 7. And again, if I do not open these locks on this episode for some reason, I will make sure to do it. Try to get to 7 here. I will easily do it next episode, so I think that was 8. Alright, so let's try this wheel. This one moves a lot. Let's go to 1. Let's try 2. That moves a lot. I think 1 actually might be that gate. And just to note, I haven't really done these locks in a while, and pulling on it takes a lot. I'm actually going to sit back down again, go to the wide camera. Because trust me, it's way easier to, that's why eventually I want to get like a stand for the cameras. It's way easier for me to be like bear clawed over like this and doing it than doing it the way how I normally do it on the camera. And without the lack of thumbnails, it's really hard for me to wiggle these wheels. Now, if I did everything correctly on the last number, it should be able to actually, you know what? I just realized I lost track of the numbers because I'm an idiot. So we're actually going to reset all the numbers again. Because I know this technique works as I use it all the time on this guy. And it's the surefire technique. We're going to try this again. This is what happens when you don't eat and then try to live stream. So we're going to start with this left wheel here. It's a lot of wiggle room. Yeah. So I'm going to 1. 2 and 3 don't seem to turn that much. Or is it 3 and 4? think it might be, I think it's between 3 and 2, this one. Let's feel for the others. It's cramping my hands. Might have to take a handbrake shortly. See, normally I would use my index, but I've like, should have not clipped. If you do this, do not clip your nails. So I definitely think it's between 2. It's probably between 2 and 3. So one. I want to make sure I lock this properly. So one moves around a lot. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? This will actually make this easier for me to pull. It's way easier for me to pull another lock to tension. So here we go. That moves a lot. God, the hard part is this fingernail stuff. Hang on. Oh, I'm on the wrong dial, that's why. See, this is what was happening last time. I wasn't keeping track. So let's go back to this guy. Oh boy, I love embarrassing myself on the stream. That one moves a lot. I think it might be between 1 and 2. Go to 4 and see if it makes a difference. I'm going to take a handbrake. It's very important that a lot of times when you do lock stuff, your hand seize up. So no matter if you know the technique, your performance will degrade down further. So it's always important to like unstress your hands, take a break. Now I'm live streaming, so I can't take the normal. I usually like go away for like 5, probably 10 minutes, even up to like a half an hour, and then go back to locks, especially considering how heavy some of these are. And normally this would obviously be shackled to something, so eventually I'm going to have like a vise and it'd just be easy to pull. Hey Ambrose, thank you for watching the stream. I'm just embarrassing myself on air per usual. So we're doing combination locks here on Master of Unlocking, and I'm going crazy right now because I don't have the nailage to do some of these combination wheels. So I'm testing like my patience here. So that one mostly wiggles. I think it's between 2 and 3. That one wiggles a bunch. See the right shims. Again, you can go to Sparrows and get the Ultra Decoder. I think it's like 12, 14 bucks. All you really need is a thin piece of metal. You can actually make these out of like Coke and beer cans, and they should normally work just fine. Yeah, no, that's the bypass. I'm actually going to make an announcement about bypassing later on. Because I showed the bypass earlier, just to explain something about defects within locks. So that's a lot of wiggle room. A lot of wiggle room. So yeah, I think it's number 2 or number 3. Because I can't tell, so I'm going to just set this one to 2 and hope for the best. So what we're actually doing is we're decoding these wheel by wheel, and with this, you normally don't need tools for this one. What you need is basically, you're pulling this shackle to seize the lock wheels, and you're kind of feeling how much wiggle room they have. If they wiggle a ton, then that's the correct one. If not, if they don't wiggle a lot, then that's the actual true gate. So I think that's it at 7. So let's try this third wheel here. That third wheel. And again, my issue is I unfortunately clipped my nails before this episode, so I don't have the grip that I normally have to test the wiggle room of these wheels. That one's loose. That one's tight. 4 should probably be tight as well. Yeah, 4 is tight. Let's see if 5's tight or loose. 5 is kind of loose. 6 is loose. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, hold on a moment. I'm trying to think. I actually now can't remember if it's the tight gates are the false gates or the loose gates are the true gates. I think it actually might be the reverse, and the loose gates are the actual true gates. Yeah, eventually, okay, the tight ones should be the true gates. I think, that's why I've been going on. But, because I know that basically there's like a size problem, that's what she said, with these, and I'm starting to notice that a lot of these are tight, but then there's only a couple that are loose. So I'm actually wondering if it's the reverse. Alright, here's what I'm actually going to do. I need a handbrake, so I'm going to play some music and go on break here. And I'm going to look at my notes and remember what the hell I'm actually doing here. So I'm going to play some music for a little bit and let my hands relax, maybe get some more water. And then we're going to, as a new drop happens, we're gonna do this. So yes, a handbrake, pump those handbrakes. So that it's funny you keep saying word. I'm actually wondering if you're Rex from DC212. But speaking of that, we should have something really cool near the end. So just enjoy this music for a little bit while I let my hands relax and everything. So enjoy. Okay, so welcome back. So quick recap here, and let's go to the close-up cam again. Welcome back to Masters of Unlocking. As I have to now mute the TV. Boy, I thought I had this episode in the bag, and everything's going crazy. So, for all those who might just be tuning in right now, the Master of Unlocking is a show that I host. I'm Sidepocket. I'm one of the two co-founders of DEFCON 201. We are a computer hacker group that is located in Jersey City, New Jersey. We meet third Friday of every month. 2 days ago, we actually had our meeting, which was all Apple themed with like iPhones and Mac OS and things like that. And the Apple Watch now can sense your oxygen level for some reason, even though phones have been doing that for years. Go figure. But if you're interested in more of what we do, you can go to our website here. There it is, at defcon201.org. We're also on Twitter at defcon201NJ, and then we're on most social media. If you type us into DuckDuckGo, or just go to our website, you can find us on Instagram, GitHub, Facebook, all of those things. And if you want to know more about like the upcoming show, next time this show airs, which will be next Sunday, which will probably be more competently done, or I can actually guarantee that, or you want to know about some of the other shows that we do, such as Hack All N Commander, Archfile Linux Perspective, that's done by the other co-founder G.I. Jack, or yes, we did stream. I'm going to address that in a moment, Ambrose. Or you want to see some of the specials that we might be doing in the future. Oh, and my other show, Crypto Barons. And you want to know what the next meeting is, which will, by the way, be on October 16th. You can hit that bell, click like, share, subscribe, or follow us. We get notifications for those, and we love to cheer you on when we do. If not, lurk in the chat. If you have any questions, though, let me know in the chat, because I'm always very curious about, if you can hear me, if I'm talking too fast or too slow, or if you have any questions while I'm doing, just let me know. For the person who asked on Discord, yes, you missed the last meeting. However, it is currently, I might have to make some altercations, so it might disappear and come back on, but ideally on YouTube. YouTube will definitely have this. We have recordings of our meetings. I think you can get it for Twitch temporarily for the next couple of days, but on YouTube, that's where a lot of our archives are. We're also going to be backlogging them to archive.org and our own PeerTube, and eventually our own DTube. So even though you missed the meeting, it was all recorded. You can see all the talks and everything. It was really fun, especially at the end with Neo's old man rant. So what we've been doing is we've been trying to code this 875 lock, and basically I need to apologize because I am an idiot, as usual here. So the thing we were supposed to do was the reverse, because it's been so long since I've done this lock, that's what she said, that I forgot what you were supposed to do. So what it is that the information I did say was correct. You can't shim this, because if I try to put this in the lock body anywhere, it won't let me in, because the whole body is solid metal now, so I can't actually do the bypass where I go in and I move the actuator while pressing down on the shackle. That's not going to work anymore. And even if I go in on the side and try to code it, I could, but it's going to constantly catch on what are called false gates, which are these indents that make it seem like I've actually encountered a gate when I was decoding it with the decoding tool, but it's not going to work because that's not the real gate. However, they made a major, like Master Lock normally does, they made a major flaw with this lock, and I have this lock here just so it's easier to grip when I do the exploit. So first of all is that that they put a false gate on every single part of the wheel with a number. So every number on here has a false gate. What that means is that, similar to these crappy nipple master locks that you saw earlier in the program and we decoded, since there's a false gate on every one of these, it's actually easy to tell which is a false gate and a true gate, meaning we don't even need a decoder tool. We need no tools at all. What we have to do is we have to pull down the shackle, which will bind up all these wheels, and then feel the smooth or not smoothness of the rotation of the wheel. Now, I had it in the reverse the wrong way before, and that beep is the oven. If it moves very little, that's the false gate, because all the false gates are really narrow. The very loose movements, that's the true gate, those wide areas where it almost seems like it's about to go to another number. So let's try this again. I'm going to hold this right side up, and I'm going to pull down the shackle, and I'm going to feel if there was any sloppy movement. So there is kind of a sloppy movement on 0. Let's go up to number 1. And number 1 is actually having a hard time moving when it's bounded. So let's do 2, also barely moving. Let's do 3, also barely moving. Let's do 4, also barely moving. Let's do 5, barely moving. Let's do 6, barely moving. And we're going to keep doing that to each number. That one kind of moves, but not really. We're up to 8 now, barely moves. 9 barely moves. 0, however, moves a lot, so I'm just going to keep that at 0. So let's go to the next number. So I'm going to pull. 0 barely moves. So that's a false gate. Let's go to 1. Pull. Barely moves. 2. Barely moves. Next number. Barely moves. 4. And we're just going to keep doing this until I find one that moves a lot. Oh, this one seems like it's moving a lot. That's number 5. Let's try 6. Doesn't, that one barely moves. 7 barely moves. 8 barely moves. And obviously 9 barely moves. So what did we say, 5 before? Let's feel for that one. Let's put that in a gate. Yeah, that one moves a lot, so that should be the true gate. So let's try this over here. So 0 barely moves, that's the default. Usually when I do combinations, I set them all at 0 just so that they're all at a blank slate. So 1 barely moves. Yep, I already said 5. Now 2 moves a lot. Let's try 3. Put that in a gate. That also kind of moves a lot, so it's probably between those two, because 4 barely moves, 5 barely moves, 6 barely moves, 7 barely moves. I'm going to be so embarrassed if this doesn't open properly. 8 barely moves. 9 barely moves. So I think I said 2 moves, or 1 does. I think 2. Yeah, 2 moves a lot. So it's probably between 2 and 3, so I'm just going to leave that at 2. Now, if we did this correctly, I believe the last number should open it. If not, we just keep flipping the numbers until it properly opens. So here we go. So 0 barely moves. 1 barely moves. 2 barely moves. 3 barely moves. It should just open, to be honest. If we did these numbers right, it might be 1 number off. Okay, so I think I'm 1 number off. So let's feel for these again. So this one moves a lot. 5 moves a lot. Although let's try that second wheel again just to make sure. And I'm not gonna lie, especially with how heavy this lock is, it's probably easier pulling down when it's attached to something, but like this does, at least for me, hurt your hands after a while. So I think this one, like, I think it was 5 that was really loose. Let's try this. Let's switch hands just to make sure. Yeah, 5 was really loose. 2 was really loose. 0 was really loose. Although I wonder if maybe it's 1. Because that one barely moves. Maybe it's 9? No. Hang on. No, it is 0. That's super loose. See, I can't really tell if 5 is loose. This is definitely loose. So it's this middle wheel that I'm unsure of. So I'm going to try this wheel again. Nothing's really moving. Maybe it's 4? Maybe it was 4. Basically, we're going to keep trying the different numbers until something clicks. So let's stick this wheel back to 0 and try this again. See if we get a loose one or it just opens. So You do that, nothing. Do that again. Not really much movement. Kind of moving, but not really. Oh, and we have an open. So yep, so that number is 0428 on this one, and of course I can easily rekey and change this. There's actually a whole positioning system, as you can notice the two notches here where I put in a certain position. Yep, and I push down there, and if I do the wheels again, it will redo them. So yeah, this is the supposedly improved Master Lock 875, and sometimes, yeah, 875 to 775 series. And most times when locks end with 75, that means it's a combination lock for Master Lock. Yay, hooray, we got an open. It just hurt my entire hands. So that was to improve on these 175 systems you can easily bypass, because as we know, you can't stick this in here to actually bypass it, and it's really hard to decode the wheels with the false gates. And in fact, I'm going to try to feel to see if I can actually feel gate. Yeah, I can feel it, but it's really tricky. If you didn't know what to feel for, I honestly couldn't blame you for not noticing if there was any difference among the wheels. But because Master Lock stupidly overly engineered their security, which is a good lesson, never over-engineer your lock security, and they put a false gate on every single number point on this wheel. What they did instead by accident, I'm going to go back to the wide camera because there's no way I can do this last bit up close, especially with how heavy it is. Because they put false gates on every single number on this wheel, all you need to do is stress the actuator, aka pull on the shackle, which will bind up all the wheels, and then go to a number, pull on the shackle, move it back and forth. If it moves very little, that's a false gate, because the false gates are tiny. The super wide gate's the one that like flashes around like it's at a drunk party at Action Park. That's the actual true gate. And you do that, and then if they're set, the last one should open. If not, but it feels loose, just move each of the numbers up or down by one from the default number that you found the looseness on, and it should open. So that's how you get that guy. Now, I've actually not done this one before, but you probably have seen these. These are key card holders. There's a little drawer here, so you pull this down like it's a woman's panty. And there's a whole combination thing in here. And this is for if you have someone delivering for you, or you're the building owner, or like you just want to, if you lose your keys and you're afraid of like, oh, if I lose my keys, like, what should I, I'm going to just set this all to 0 again. Like what should I do? Well, what you do is you put spare keys here. You can have keys for different rooms or whatever. And they usually find these outside. This one is designed to bolt to the door. You've probably also seen the one with the loop on the top that hangs on the doorknob. These are really common, not only in most cities, but in Jersey City. And what you would do is you would enter this combo, and you would pull down on this little bit here. And when it opens, there would be a bunch of keys inside. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't clever enough to put something kind of cool in here, so when we open it, it's like surprise. But we are going to try to decode this thing. This is the first time I'm actually ever doing this. So we're going to try the normal method, and for this one, I'm actually going to read here and push up, and then we'll do like what we tried to do with the others, where once the gates are lined up, we're just going to keep pushing up one and keep pulling down on this until hopefully it pops open. If that doesn't happen, apparently Lockpicking Lawyer found a faster way to decode these that we'll also try out. So let's see here. So let's see if we can get like a dip somewhere. So I'm going to hold down and move the wheel towards the tool. Hopefully I'm doing this right. Hang on, let me just put this here. Oh, did I discover something? Let's try that again. Okay, so just want to make sure I'm on that correct axle. Feels like there's something going on here. It's 105 now. I might be catching on something, so let's find out. I also don't know which side it's supposed to be on. Actually, let's do 0 one more time, and I'm going to look, because I can actually see kind of the side to one of the wheels. So if I actually see a gate, I'll know it's probably a manufacturing defect on it. So sometimes if it's wide enough, you know, like what they say, you can actually see the actual gap in the wheel, which is always funny. So we're halfway through. So far I don't feel anything. Okay, let's try this again. Maybe I'll do this on the other side. Maybe I also don't have this on the right angle. I think this side should be completely smooth. Uh-oh. Did I feel something there? Hang on. There's something different. I think that might be something, so I'll keep a mental note of that and come back to it. I'm going to try the other side and figure this out. It's like a kind of a puzzle. Also, again, in chat, if anyone has any questions or comments about my crazy hair or how much I'm failing tonight, things like that, let me know. Because I love chatting in chat. Otherwise, I know when the chat's quiet, you guys are being really attentive to my F-ups and what I'm doing. So, let's see, I think I felt something there. Oh, I think I found something there. Let's find out. It's really weird. Aha. I think I have found it. So I think somewhere around the lower numbers. Hang on. So I think around here. So let's try the next wheel. See, because if I can't properly feel for this, we might have to use lockpicking lawyer's method. Because lockpicking lawyer's method, apparently they've done like a new manufacturing thing to make sure that it's harder to decode than normal. Oh, nothing's in the oven right now, it's just heating. That's why I'm hoping to be done soon. It's a modern oven, so it should be able to retain its heat for a while. But basically I'm making chicken tonight, and I'm possibly making a side of just mixed vegetables. I know it's not the most exciting meal, but while I do like to go out and experience like equivalent foods when I have the chance. I'm very much a very simple person, so that's what you're probably feeling there. I feel like there's something here, so I'm just going to say it's that wheel. Hope I'm doing this on the right side. And I actually felt the same thing with that wheel. So I think it's also that. And now we're going to try this. And again, this technique might not work as well as I want it to. So, ooh, something got caught here. I think that's it. Let's find out. So I think that's it. If not, we're going to try that the leaning technique. And if not, then we're going to do that. So obviously, this is not opening because it's spring load, so it'll pop up. So I'm just going to move each number up. Actually, maybe I'm going to move each number lower. See if that does anything. Nope. Let's try it this. Nope. And we're going to keep doing this, and if there's no pop, then we're going to try a different method. And again, what we're doing is we're trying to line up all the gates so that they're in a row, and then the gates aren't, when they're lined up in the front, yep, hacker food, when they're lined up in the front, chicken and carrots, when they're lined up in the front, I feel like I'm off by a number, possibly. 2001, A Space Odyssey. That doesn't mean that's where the actual pass-through for the gates are. So, yeah, I'm just going to reset this to 0, and we're going to try a different method here. And then, if that doesn't work, we're going to try the lockpicking lawyer method. So, I'm going to stick this over and tilt. Okay, so we should get something. Okay, I think I felt something move there. Let's try that again. Okay, something moved around there. I'll explain in a moment, because if this doesn't work, because I probably can't concentrate due to a lack of food. If I have food, I just haven't eaten it yet. One of these days, I think my goal for the next Master of Unlocking is no matter which of the two topics I'm going to do, and I know there's probably one I'm going to do more than the other, what I'm probably going to do is let's try the other side. Is I'm going to actually eat food before I lockpick. I should probably add a new rule to myself that I should probably never pick a lock or decode a lock on an empty stomach. Because I also don't know if I have the point high enough. Let's see. Try that again. I think it caught around there. Okay. So, I'm going to set that 3. Yeah, I know, eating, what a concept, you know, it's hackers, we're used to, cold pizza and warm beer, you know, especially beer. I'm going to try that again, because I felt a move up there. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to guess that's a 5. caught again. F for that. Thought it was F Society. Thought that's what the younger hackers are into now. I say that as if being 33 is old, but as I often say, in real life I'm 33, in computer years I'm dead. So you can imagine what people older than me feel like. Okay, hang on. I'm having a hard time finding the false gate on the gate on this one, so just using this technique. Alright, let's try this. So that didn't open. Set everything up one. That didn't open. Set everything up one. Just gonna keep doing this, and hopefully we will get an unlock. Keyword is hopefully. I kind of debated about getting just a 3 dial combination one, so hopefully I could reprogram it to be 201, but I thought that would be too obvious and easy. Oh, let's see. I'm going to try something because each one of these feel loose here, except for this one. So I'm just going to turn this one and keep hoping for the best. So let's try this one. Oh, it opened! Ha! We got an open, so it did pop. So that tilt technique actually did work on this one. It did work on this one, but it took a little bit. Ironically, I forgot that I set this to leet because, you know, of course I set it to leet. And unfortunately, there's nothing inside. It's just like 2020. You expect a prize for your efforts, but there's actually nothing. But yeah. That opens it there. So even though I now know the combo, I just want to see this. I'm going to try lockpicking lawyer's technique, and then we're going to move on to our last thing. Come on. If I can close it. What I like about these is that these are reprogrammable. There's an actual switch here which you can move to the well, there's something not locked in. It takes a bit of effort, but you actually move it inwards and downwards, and then once it's in position you can re-scroll the locks, you can re-scroll the combos, and then that's the new combination. So just gonna close this guy. There we go. And we're gonna try lockpicking lawyer's method. Now lockpicking lawyer, apparently, because he said, and I kind of felt it, they've done things to the wheels on here that make them harder to feel. They're not false gates, but they've just done things with like the smoothness and the sizing and, you know, the way she likes it. They've ribbed it for her pleasure just enough that it's hard to open up. So what lockpicking lawyer found, which is why I have these 3 guys, is that if you take and I have a super hook that might be perfect for this. This one is, I don't even know what you would use because the hook is so steep. I mean, you can use it on this one, but like this doesn't fit in most locks, but this actually is super steep hook might work for this. So the idea here is that you can actually hook onto the actuator in here, pull it back, and you can basically scroll it and you can feel for the same type of gaps that are in this one. So I'm going to try that. So let's see if I can actually do it with this guy. Now he said you need a thin one, and this is not exactly thin. So I don't know if you can actually get in here because I think this boy is too thick. I'm probably eventually just going to get a hook that's this steep but thinner. Okay, so maybe my normal one will do it. Maybe. I don't think so. Alright, I'm going to risk this and do the 15,000th of an inch. It's almost like the decoder. It's slightly thicker, just like she likes it. So we'll see. Okay, so that one does fit in. I'm going to see if I can grab and hook the actuator in here. I don't know exactly what I'm feeling for either. Okay, I think it might be this. Maybe. Hold on. Okay, I think I grabbed the actuator, so So what I'm doing is I'm pulling the actuator towards me, and I'm using the same technique as the 875 and the super loose one, I believe. Oh yeah, super loose one is the number, so that one matched. So let's try this one, which means 3 should be super loose. Yep. And all the other numbers are super tight. Yep. This is an actual faster method. So if I can get the same hook on a different number, so that way I can do the other 2 wheels. Oop. So nervous about breaking this guy because he's only 1/15,000 of an inch. So yeah, that one is tight, just like she is. But once again, the number 3 is super loose. And then, oh boy, hang on. Don't want this to get stuck. Oh boy. Only on this show. I never break equipment out in the field. It's always the show. Okay, so got that unstuck without damaging this. Probably should just get multiple 15,000ths or like 12,000ths of an inch or something. So now I'm just going to try to figure out how to grip it with these other dials here, because I'm having a hard time finding the actuator on these other wheels. Might be something there. You don't really want to do it the wheel that you're on, although I'm willing to do that. Jeez, really? Alright, maybe I need to go up higher. Okay, that should do it. So again, that one's tight. All these numbers are tight, and when I get to the correct number, that one's loose. Now, normally it's supposed to just pop, but I think I'm not pulling on it hard enough. That's what she also said. So if I use the snap, come on. Don't tell me I broke this thing. Oh, that's why. Alright, let's hook that again. I can't read and I was on the wrong number. So yeah, that one's tight. 3 should be loose. Yep, 2's loose. 3 is super loose, but I'm not pulling on it hard enough, and I don't want to break this pick, because this is the 3rd time I've gotten this stuck. So if this breaks on the air, you can press F to pay respects for fail. There we go. And we have an open. So, I didn't want to break this pick, so I didn't want to pull on it too hard enough, but those are the 2 techniques. You can feel for it, but you notice how long it felt for us to feel for the wheels. Pulling on the actuator definitely deciphers it better, and basically it works like the same way of seizing up this lock. This guy I will probably just do on a later thing, but before we get there, I want to do one last thing, and then we're going to end the stream. So let's see, 9, 10. Basically, we went on for 3 hours. There's one last lock that I haven't decoded, and I've worked on these before. It's just I've worked on an older model, but we got this guy open. This guy is just being annoying, because he always is. This one's defective. This one we got open, and this one's easy peasy lemon squeezy, the nipple one, as I call them. Someone just asked, where did you get the 15 or the 12s? The only place that, okay, so the 12s are super specialty. You can either get those at Peterson's at high quality. They have the blue handles, or you can get them at, no, sorry, not the blue handles. You can only get, the only place I know to get 12, and I don't recommend using 12 on this for the actuator because it'd be way too thin. That would be like the decoder tool, which you wouldn't use as a pick, except for very, very certain high security locks that we're not going to even go into now. And then you have to be like a master at tension and pressure. But Sparrows does sell 12,000ths of an inch as a set. I think they're called like the steel one. They're stamped with 12,000th of an inch. 15,000th of an inch is more common. That's usually, sometimes they're labeled as Euro Slim, because European lock keyways tend to be thinner, just like the women there. But no, they tend to be thinner, so they're more power-centric compared to like the giant American and Asian keyholes. So in America, all the holes are wider. In Europe, they're a lot narrower with locks. So a lot of times they're labeled as Euro Slim, but all the European lock picks are basically 15 thousandths of an inch. And you can get 15 thousandths pretty much at most places. And thank you, Baby Tep here, for following us. I'm going to assume you followed us on Twitch because I've colored them. So I believe now the red text is YouTube, but I double checked that. So thank you for following us on here. And there's going to be a bunch of shows coming up this week, including Archvile Linux Perspective, and also GI Jack Show. GI Jack Show is Archvile Linux Perspective this Thursday, and then on this Sunday is Crypto Barons, which is my other show. I'm almost going to be done. So sometimes I call it Euroslim 15,000 inch. You can get mostly everywhere. If on Sparrows, on Petersons, they are the blue-handled ones, if I remember correctly, because they have a weird thing where they have an in-between that's 18,000 inch. I don't know how Peterson thinks. They make high-quality standard lockpicks. Everything else, in my opinion, just don't buy unless they're like a super specialty. Sparrows, you can get those at, and that's actually where I got my 15,000 inch. If you go to their individual picks, you can get them different sizes. You can even get them in 25 thousandths of an inch, so they're super thick. But you can get 15 thousandths individually at Sparrows. So for the slimmer hooks for European keyways, most paracentric, high security keyways, and trying to pull the actuator on this guy, 50 thousandths of an inch should do with that. 12 thousandths to me would be way too thin. That is very much more likely to break, and you saw how I got stuck on here at some of those points. The combo lock, I'll do that one real quick. So before I get to the last one we're going to cover. So you probably have seen these. I'm going to stamp for this. You probably have seen these everywhere. If you went through school, particularly in the United States, this is kind of standard. You can get these in different colors, but they didn't have a green one, so I just chose pink because, as you can tell, most of the locks that I have, because Master Lock, they all look like they all have the same color palette as Quake 1 or like any Xbox 360 shooting game from the 80s. They're all black and gray and brass and beige, so I figured, hey, if I got a pink one, that would really stand out in my kit, so I'd immediately be able to eyeball it and know exactly what this guy is. So that's why I got it in pink. I'm also going to have different colored ones in the future. Like, for example, I think all my Abises are going to be either blue or orange, just so that I can remember stuff. But so a lot of people in the past, and I showed a video about this because some guy made an Arduino that like brute forces this with an AI. And there's people, I remember in the schoolyard, people used to think like, oh, do you use math to do this? Or like, there's like some sort of like taking it apart or a shimming, and you can shim this, and I'll get to that in a moment at the end of the episode. But there's actually a really simple, easy technique, so I'll quickly re-go over it, and you can rewind this episode when it's fully archiving on YouTube or Twitch to see it. So as you know, normally what you do is you would spin this 3 times past 0 to the right and then choose the first number. Then you would spin it over left past that first number when you spin it to the left, and then get the second number, and then do 1 spin to the right to the third number and open. So it's a similar thing where you're decoding it. You have to go right, left, right, but here's the technique. So what you're going to do is, like what we did with some of these others, tension the shackle, which will bind up the 3 discs that are in here. The right, left, right basically engages with a different disc. So the right gauges with the first layer disc. Once you have that number, that gate will go through, and now you will be moving the second disc when you move left. And then when that gate goes through, it'll drop down to the third, moving right, we'll move the third one with all gates. It will open the pathway to the shackle, and it will pop open. So the first gate, what you're going to do is you're going to put some tension. If you do too much tension when you right turn, it will bind, and you'll have a hard time turning every one of these. So what you do is you start very light. And actually, the first time you do this, you should probably just spin this, just so you can feel how smooth this is. I'm actually going to spin it the 3 times regardless. And then you do light tension on the shackle, and see, I'm already binding too much because I can't really turn past this, and I bet when I go to a next number, yeah, it's already binding, so I have to release some of the tension on that. And see, now it's going smoothly, but when I get around there, it actually sticks, even though I'm pushing very little on the shackle up, and obviously if this was attached to something, you'd be pulling it downward, so very lightly. So, and I can prove that because if I go past the number, I release tension, put the tension back on, and I go through it. See, remember those parts where we got stuck before? I can just easily rotate this, but when I get around there, it sticks again. Once you get to that number that sticks, you add 5, turning it left. So we're on 7, so we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the number. That's 13 in this, and it's okay if people know this one because I'm going to get future master locks where people won't know the number. And plus, people who don't watch this show, they won't know my kit. So what you're going to do then, now that we know it's 13, let's remember that 13, is we're going to spin past that first number, and what we're going to do is, now turning left, we're going to put moderate tension. So we're not going to pull the full shackle up, but moderate tension. So it's more than the previous one, but not fully all the way up. And what it's going to do is it's going to catch on certain ones. Now, if you remember about the 875, which is why I introduced this first, the ones that are very loosely, it's the reverse of these. The ones that are very loosely, like when I tension this, it gets stuck, but see how much I can wiggle? Ignore that. That's a defect in the wheel. The one where it catches, but it's very little turning, that's the correct one. So I'm going to go past that, caught again, very loose, put tension, caught again, very loose, caught again, very loose, caught again, very loose, caught again, very loose. But look at this. Look how very little I can turn this. It's for comparison. When I got caught on this guy, you see how much I can wiggle here? But note this one, I can only go barely between 2 numbers. And the gates are wide enough, which is what you're exploiting here. I'm just going to leave this, it's between 38 39. Since it's not quite at 38, I'm going to leave that 39. So now that we know that, let's forget everything we know. And I'm just going to reset this by going past 0 3 times. So we know that first one that we decoded, because we added +5, is 13. And now we're going to go past the 13 and spin it to that 39. So once we're on that second one, that second number, here's how you then decode the last one. You go from that starting number position and you move back 2 notches, 1, 2. Now you pull on the shackle. If it doesn't open, now you're going to count back from here 4 notches until it opens, and it's basically guaranteed to open. So we move back, what was it? 1, 2. Okay, so now we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. That didn't open. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we got an open. And that was the correct number, 13, 39, 29. I'm going to take that number off later when I put it in my kit, and plus I'm going to get more of these. I do want to note that because of how crappily these are made, I call them the nipple locks, that this technique might not work on all of them. Because remember, normally the bypass works on these Master Lock 175s, but mine has a defect where the wheels are, the spool wheels, the discs are way too large, so you can't read them or shim them. So again, ironically, the way you improve a Master Lock is having a factory defect and then its actual security. The technique I will show you will not probably work on every single one of these, because if this has a defect, it won't work, this technique that I just showed you. But on like 97+% of these, that technique that I just showed you, that works. So once again, you do the light tension, spin it around until it clicks and doesn't want to move, then you add 5 to that, that's the first number. Then you spin past that first number, and then you do moderate tension, and then it'll keep catching on different parts of the wheel. If it's super loose, then don't pay attention to that. But then the one that barely moves, where it barely goes from one number to another, that's the real one. You remember both of those numbers, reset them by spinning it past 0 3 times like you're going to do the combination. You enter the first 2 numbers that you, I kind of went past that slightly, so hopefully this will work, that you decoded, just like you would if you actually knew password for this lock. And then you move back 1, 2 notches. If that doesn't work, then you count back 4 notches, and you keep doing that until you get an open. So that is how these work, which is why if you want any real, now I believe most kids, because usually the parents buy them a lock, probably won't go for these. They'd probably actually just get, I mean, you would still be able to pick them open, but you'd probably get like a normal padlock with a key and everything maybe. But basically, if you are really interested in security, don't use these, because anyone that knows the technique that I just showed you will pretty much be able to open these barring any defects. So the last thing I'm going to do, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick break. I'm not only going to put the chicken in the oven, it's going to be real quick, but I need to take a whiz because I've been drinking all this water. So I'm going to put some music on for just literally barely a minute, maybe 2 minutes. I'll be back and we'll do the final thing and end the stream. Thank you everyone, by the way, for watching. If you want to know more about us, you can go to our website, www.defcon21.org. We're also on Twitter at defcon201nj, and we're on most social media. If you type in defcon201 to DuckDuckGo, or you go to our website and look at the sidebar, most of our social media is there. And if you want to know more, like you want to catch up to more Master of Unlocking shows, and I'm actually going to turn away the close-up camera, Master of Unlocking shows, or some of our future shows, including our next meeting on October 16th, which is the third Friday of the month. You can click that bell, like, share, subscribe on here, and we get notifications whether you're on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube when we do, and we very much appreciate that. So I need to pee, and I need to set the food in. So I'm going to go on a minute, 1 minute, probably maybe 2, depending on if I trip and fall in the bathroom or pee all over myself, which is also a possibility because I'm from New Jersey. And, you know, I mean, you've heard of Donald Trump. He used to do business in New Jersey, P-tape, enough said. So I'm going to go on a short break, and then we're going to do the final thing, which I've never done before on here, although I learned the technique of how this works, but I've never done it on this lock. And I'm looking at it right here, and it's looking at me back really mean. But I will be right back, so just stay tuned and enjoy the music. And we are back on the Master of Unlocking. Sorry about that. It took a little longer than I thought it would. That's also what he said. As our neighbors are arguing downstairs again, so hold on. Just in case if you didn't think we lived in Jersey City, New Jersey, all the yelling and possible furniture throwing sounds in the background will be proof of that. But thank you for tuning in here. This is the show Master of Unlocking. I'm actually going to attempt to move this logo back into a corner where you possibly can see it better. There's not really any good options here, so I'm just going to put it over here for now. This is a show where I teach lockpicking and locksport and how locks work and all the different security flaws with them and how to bypass them or pick them open. Basically exploiting vulnerabilities just like you would with any piece of software or network in what we typically call computer hacking. I'm Sidepocket. I'm one of the co-founders of DEFCON TOOOL 1. I'm also a member of TOOOL, the open organization of lockpickers. That's TOOOL with 3 O's. You can find them at TOOOL.us. And even though this is not a TOOOL sponsored or endorsed stream, I like to teach this stuff because I normally do this at the in-person TOOOL meetings and at DEFCON TOOOL 1 in-person meetings, but we haven't had in-person meetings because apparently Americans just love the idea of dying from disease so much, unfortunately. So until then, I'm going to do this show. And even when we get back to normal, I'm still going to do this show because this show is a lot of fun for me. I learn new stuff. Even though I'm experienced with picking locks, I've been doing it for over 3 years and bypassing and other sorts of security, physical security measures. I do this as a hobby. I'm also learning along with you guys, and we're going to prove that in a moment. So if you like the show, if you want to see it again next Sunday, which should be October 4th. I keep forgetting. Time doesn't mean anything to me during the COVID era, but on October 4th, same time at 8 p.m., or you want to see the upcoming Archvile Linux perspective, which is done by my co-founder G.I. Jack. Hack All N Commander, done by our member N Commander. My other show, Crypto Barons, which will be this Saturday at 8 p.m., where I talk about cryptocurrency and blockchain as a piece of technology instead of market values and all that snake oil BS. Or some of the specials that one of them might be coming up this weekend. We're going to see if we can announce that soon. You can click that bell, click follow, share, or subscribe to us. When you do, we see notifications pop up on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube, and we cheer you on. Also, we love our lurkers. We're assuming that when you're lurking that you're learning, hence the 2 L's, lurk and learn. But if you have any questions about what I'm doing, if you can't hear me, if I'm too loud, if I'm too soft, if I'm too tall, too short, you have questions about my crazy hair, about hacking, you need me to re-go over stuff or clarify stuff, definitely let me know in the stream. I also like just shouting out things because I love talking to all you folks at the stream because the chat, particularly during Master of Unlocking, is always usually hilarious and it's very dapper and very mature, but still hilarious, which is the reverse of me on this show. So what we have been learning this entire episode that went along way longer than I thought it would is decoding locks. So instead of doing the usual pin and tumbler where you have a key that's bidden and it goes in and this stuff that I've been doing for a couple episodes, instead we've been learning different ways of those little number wheels that you spin and open common locks like this master lock that you've seen probably on every single school or gym locker in existence. And sometimes in a lot of other places where they think these are way higher security than they actually are. That's and I should actually turn this guy upside down. That's what we've been learning about today. We've been doing different techniques, whether we're using this ultra decoder or just literally using our hands and intuition. We've done no math so far, nothing too complicated, just all of that good stuff. I also want to note, which will be in the way future an episode of Master of Unlocking, and will probably actually be a talk eventually at one of our DEFCON 1 meetups, which we actually had 2 days ago that was all Apple and Mac themed. It was really fun. Oh boy. That's not a good sound. Anyhow, if, you know how I said how there's a giant nipple dial on here? That's why I call these the nipple locks. And that there's 3 discs. They're like layered 1, 2, and 3. If you could like X-ray through here. One of these days I'll Dremel one of these out so you can see. And when you move it left or right, you're moving the different discs. So when you get to the gate of the first disc, it drops to the second disc. So going right is the first disc, and then when you get to that gate, when you go left, that's the second disc, and then when you go right again, that's the third disc. If you take this, make this 1 billion times bigger, it's actually very similar to how you decode. Okay. This is a weird episode of the stream. I don't know if you hear the Tarzan sounds in the background, but I'm not going to say if we're armed here or not in Chateau 201, as Encomander says, but hopefully this won't become a truly interesting episode in a couple of minutes. Anyhow, but yeah, this is actually the same technique you would normally use to decode safes. So if you make this crappy master lock a billion times bigger, you stick some money and important documents in it, maybe some like pornography scandal pictures or whatever, that's most of the, if you see those giant disk safes where you're decoding, it's the same principle. They have the 3 wheels and they have different gates, and the right and left motion do those. There's different techniques for those. Hopefully in a future episode of Master of Unlocking and probably a future DC201 meeting, we're going to cover safe decoding. But I just want to let you know that if you know how to do a really crappy nipple dial master lock like this that you see on every school and gym locker, you have the same methodology idea now of how to open most like safes that have dials on them. But that's not here or there. After decoding different wheels and stuff, I want to try something different. So here's what I thought to do. I went out and I got a lock, and I have it in the same packaging, and I have not opened it yet, nor have I ever done this particular type of lock before. So here we go. This is a type of decoding lock, except there's something kind of different on it. Now, to explain this in-joke, we used to have a person that used to be a member of DEFCON 201 who then went off and formed DC 202, or DEFCON 212, sorry, DC 212, aka DEFCON 212, that group, which is in New York City. Cool meetings when they had them. I think they had one online thing post-COVID, and then I have not seen a future meetup unless they're like hiding it from everyone else or whatever, but they haven't done meetups online or in person since like April, basically. I think April they did one online thing, and that was it. I have a semi-active chat, but I haven't really like heard from them, and I actually haven't really seen them tweet in a while, so I don't know what they've been doing since DEFCON Safe Mode, which is I think the last time I saw them tweet anything. But the guy who runs it, Rex, he knows a lot of different things, but every time he agrees with you, he says only one thing. So what I love about this is what makes this different than like this lock or this combination lock. One thing. Word. So the word of today, of tonight, in honor of Rex from DC 212, is word. Next time you meet him, say like, just keep saying word to him, and then when he gets frustrated, tell him that I said that, and that will be hilarious for me. But we're going to open this guy right here. Now, the packaging was semi-broken, as you can see here, so I'm just gonna sloppily, I normally do the sides, but I'm just going to sloppily open this one here, because it's already partially, the packaging's already partially busted. Hopefully the lock itself is not partially busted. And Rex, if you're in the chat right now, lurking on here, word. So let's see. Is that guy, where is that? Cannabis Village, yes. He did run the Cannabis Village 2 DEFCONs ago. In fact, one of the things that makes me absolutely laugh is our co-founder G.I. Jack went into DEFCON that year, and there was the Cannabis Village. And I got to see it later with the talks, but there's one particular talk on here that year at the Cannabis Village where, because I used to talk with Rex about doing the Cannabis Village, and to put it this way, there was one talk that was so incredibly bullcrappy. It was just so like what the, how did these guys get approved to talk, that I always elect it every year pretty much as the worst DEFCON talk, village or main tracks that I have ever seen. And I just also want to point out, and if you want to know, DM us what that is, and we'll probably share the video, because you'll laugh and be horrified. I challenge everyone to see how long you can watch this particular talk at the Cannabis. There was other cool talks there, like the gene splicing stuff was really cool, but it was this talk that basically you would think that they were trolling the village, but they were so sincere about what they were doing. You could tell that, oh my god, they actually do believe this. Well, I'm going to quickly go to the close-up cam for this. I mean, I'll sum it up, astrology, enough said. But I've talked about this before, and I'm going to start saving these. So the master locks have like a number grading system. and it literally doesn't mean anything. It goes from 1 to 10. They rated this one a 4. As it says here, you can set your own passwords and the combinations. A lot of times they often say, like, I mean, this one says hardened, like most of their stuff, although it's not the most hardened shackle. Serious snake oil. And probably also a type of cannabis. And what do you call it? And usually what they mean when they do the ratings for when MasterLock does its own numbered rating system is they mean how difficult it is to shim the inside of the lock and how hard the shackle and the physical lock is to break. So I'm pretty sure you could probably hit this with a couple times with a hammer and it will break. And it does have, as I can tell with this curve here, ball bearing, so you can't shim the shackle. A lot of times, even when it says anti-shim, sometimes you can shim it with the shackle. But shim it with the shackle. But yeah, that's what their rating system is. I've encountered ones that are numbered 10 on the scale of difficulty, apparently, to do it. And they're 4 pins, no security pins, and I just pick them right open. So just don't pay attention to that number scale. That number scale is literally meaningless. So what I said, what makes this unique is word. So instead of numbers, there are words, there are letters in the English alphabet surrounding this whole thing with little pop-up parts here for easier grip. And they also give you extra replacement dials to add more numbers into the mix in addition to words. So I'm actually going to look at this again because I didn't see like a... Maybe that's what happened. Here we go. There's instructions on the back here. Set your own combination. So we already have the default password, but I want to see if this technique will work. So let's see, pull spring. Oh, you actually, in order to redo it, you have to remove all the combination dials. And then you put them all back on. That's kind of fascinating. So we now know that the default password is word 3, but we're going to disregard that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to lock this back up, and I'm going to scramble the wheels. And I'm going to see if the principle that I learned will open this lock. So the principle, what it is that you start, there's 5 wheels, and there's 5 wheels, and you start, I'm going to stay up for this. It's 5 wheels, and let's put the close-up camera back on. You start with the one from the right, and what I should be able to do is, like before, I should be able to pull this shackle, and as I move this wheel, I should be able to feel it, and apparently I should be able to hear the clicks that lets me know if I'm in the correct gate. So I'm just going to pretend like I don't know this, and we're going to try this to see if I can feel for it. So we're going to start with this 5th one over here. So it's going to look odd here. It's going to be kind of upside down. I'm going to pull up on the shackle. So it is sticking. Feel it kind of sticking. It's mostly smooth. So it seems like most of this is really smooth to rotate, but it seems like certain of these click in place, and that is how you can feel for it. Because I'll put the wrong letter here on this 3rd wheel. I'm going to put K. And it doesn't click in place. But that R, yeah, that R clicks in place. See, and I just moved that one up slightly and that already clicked in place. And then I would just basically test the shackle each lettering until we got an open. So yeah, so the same principles that worked on the other ones where we had to pull the shackle and feel for them. So for this is if it's loose, it's not it. The stiff ones are the ones that actually do this. So even though this is, you know, they advertise on here, they're like over 25 billion word combinations, and that you're using words instead of numbers. So instead of just using 0 through 9, basically 10 rotations, you have multiple different ones you can use here, although there's kind of a limit on each wheel. That same tensioning technique that was used before, where I just pulled on the shackle and felt for it, all the stiff ones snap into place on the gate line, so all the gates line up. So as Rex from DC 212 would say, word. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, I'm going to conclude the episode here, just in case, we hear gunshots and police sirens and stuff in a couple of minutes. That hasn't quite happened yet in this particular building, but, it's COVID-19. There's a first time for everything, and I don't want to be here to find out. But, yeah, that was this episode of Master of Unlocking. I'm going to go back to the normal thing. Thank you all for watching this, and while I'm actually doing the spiel here, and I'm going to move these scissors out of the way, I'm going to check on the food, and what I'm actually going to mainly do is we're going to find a Twitch stream to raid. So thank you all for watching Master of Unlocking. To recap of what we've done today is, Project Melody's not on anymore, is we instead of learning the normal pin and tumbler lock picking, what we instead did was we learned combination locks. And what we've learned is that unlike normal pin and tumbler lock picking and some of the other stuff that we're going to cover, where you're going to need different types of hooks or if you can go past the previous episodes, though, we're talking about different hook lock picks or half diamonds or distitator picks or any of the other 8 million different types of crazy tools that you would need in order to decipher stuff. What we instead learned was that it's actually, for a lot of the times, even though it's more of a trickier technique, but it's a lot, pray for my life. It's normally a lot simpler than that. So what we've learned is that basically by either using just our hands and binding up the different types of wheels, and feeling for those wheels to feel the different sets between the false gates and the real gates on those different wheels, or using only one tool, which is this decoder. You can get these at Sparrows for like 12 to 14 bucks. It's known as the Ultra Decoder. Very thin piece of metal. If you go back 2 episodes of Master of Unlocking, you can actually make these directly out of soda cans and beer cans. It's the same width of metal. It's 12,000ths of an inch, I believe. And if it makes that Jew harp springy sound, you can flick it and it vibrates like that, like the way she likes it. That's the type of decoder you need. Sticking them between the wheels and feeling for the different hotspots, we were able to open up all these different wheel combinations, and we went everything from your basic lock that you see, this basically pink nipple dial lock that you see on every single school and gym locker, to Master 175 in their clothes. The improvement 875 that has the flaw of actually using the shackle and the false gates to decipher the code, using the same technique to get into key boxes, so you can steal people's keys, so you don't even have to pick the lock on the door. You just decode this real quick and take their actual keys. And even if you include letters in the mix, you could still, using the same shackle pull technique, decipher the different spools. So thank you for watching this. I'm going to tilt the camera up in a moment, and then we're going to go raid this stream. So there's the actual man with his crazy hair. So thank you for watching this. I'm Sidepocket. I'm one of the 2 co-founders of DEFCON TOOOL. I'm also a member of TOOL. That's the open organization of lockpickers, TOOL with 3 O's. You can find them at TOOOL.us for the United States. They're also located in the Netherlands and in other different regions, but I digress. But we are DEFCON 201. You can find us at defcon201.org. You can also find our social media on there, including following us on Twitter at defcon201nj, and then on Instagram and GitHub and everything else, we're on defcon201. If you type us into DuckDuckGo or go to our website and go, that's defcon201.org, and look at our sidebar, they're all there. You can also contact us, including me, directly at our general email, which is info@defcon201.org. I don't know if Hackle and Commander is going to be on this week. I have to have discussions on exactly what we're going to be doing with that, because we have to change the schedule around. But I definitely know Archfile Linux Perspective, which is if you're into Linux and you're into Arch Linux, which I will know because you will tell me you're into Arch Linux. But if you want to know more about Arch Linux, or you are on Arch Linux, you want to learn your craft better, or you just want to see someone actually play video games on Linux, because who does that? This guy does, because he's insane. Our co-founder, G.I. Jack, will debut that, will be on that episode 7 p.m. This Thursday, and then this Saturday, where it's going to be Crypto Barons, my other show where we talk about blockchain technology as a blockchain and cryptocurrencies as a piece of technology as opposed to the snake oil salesman. That will be Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think that episode I'm going to be covering cryptocurrencies that actually have security measures, so that's going to be really neat. But anyhow, the next Master of Unlocking that I know is going to be on October 4th, 8 p.m. this normal time. I'm going to do one of two things next episode. I'm either going to do the least likely thing, although I'm trying to get to it, is how to pick dimple locks. Because I'm waiting for equipment to come in. Worst comes to worst, which I can pretty much guarantee, I'm pretty sure the next one's going to be about bypasses. So remember how I said that you can actually bypass these little cheapo locks, so even if you don't have to code it, you can like instantly bypass it? I'm going to show you that with this guy and others on here. So instead of picking locks, you just go right through the mechanism. So that's probably going to be more. If I get the dimple locks thing, dimple locks is definitely coming up. That's a certain type of lock that you often see in Europe, and certain high security locks like Multi-T also use the dimple lock method for picking. They're basically a weird version of pin and tumbler locks. Very common in Europe, very less common in here, but it's good to know. Anyhow, again, that's our show, Master of Unlocking. I am Sidepocket. I'm with the two co-founders, DEFCON 201. Go to our website, defcon201.org. Follow us on social media, such as Twitter at like DEFCON201 NJ, or DEFCON 201 and everything else. Hope to see you soon. Also hope to see you on our October 16th meeting, and we're also going to have other announcements, hopefully also this weekend, that we might be live streaming on, that I hope you folks, all you Keepheads and Driver Pits, will check out. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned more about locks and lock mechanisms. We're going to go raid the woke stream, because unfortunately we went over time, so a couple other streamers went away, but we're going to stay woke and catch up on the calamity that is going on in the United States and across the world. Once again, I'm Sidepocket, Hack the Planet, Dirty Jersey represent, and see you all in the future. Happy picking.